Built a tower made of paper and lies, stacked it high with the liar's disguise. But the wind's picking up, gonna blow it all down. A reckoning's coming to this hollow town. Tear it down, burn it up, let the light shine through. Trump's got the hammer, Musk lights the fuse. No more chains, no deep state blues. The eagle's screaming, we got work to do. They sold our steel, they stole our land, turned the worker into a begging hand. But the wheels are turning, the fire's alive. We're taking back what's rightfully mine. Tear it down, burn it up, let the light shine through. Trump's got the hammer, Musk lights the fuse. No more chains, no deep state blues. The eagle's screaming, we got work to do. Ghosts of the past whisper through the trees. Swamp runs deep, but it's begging to freeze. Freedom ain't given, it's a fight to the bone. Stand your ground or be overthrown. Tear it down, burn it up, let the light shine through. Trump's got the hammer, Musk lights the fuse. No more chains, no deep state blues. The eagle's screaming, we got work to do. Our work to do. Ghosts of the past whisper through the trees. Swamp runs deep, but it's begging to freeze. Freedom ain't given, it's a fight to the bone. Stand your ground or be overthrown. Tear it down, burn it up, let the light shine through. Trump's got the hammer, Musk lights the fuse. No more chains, no deep state blues. The eagle's screaming, we got work to do.
Hey guys,
How you doing, everybody?
how's everybody doing this week? You have a good week, everybody?
Yeah, put it in the chat. Let us know what you were up to. How you doing, Rich?
All right, how are you? How's your week?
You know, it's been a week.
Yeah,
been
it's
a
been
week.
7 days.
It's-
Commander, what's
it's-
up, man? Chill. What's up, brother? Good to see you. Uncle Bobbity. Chris, way to go, guys. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Everybody else, too. So how was your week? What happened?
No, just it's been a week. It's been
Single.
fairly quiet. So
Okay.
I that's good. It's good. I prefer quieter times
3-day
instead of
weekend now. Yeah.
yeah
3-day weekend.
yeah. For me, every day is a weekend. That's what
Yeah.
happens when you retire.
Yeah, I know. You get busy.
Well, yeah, that's the other thing.
Yeah.
Although I think I seem to be settling down a little bit. It's not as crazy. It seemed for a while I just wasn't stopping, but
Yeah.
now I'm just kind of in a. I got to start getting out a little more. I'm becoming a little homebound.
There you go.
So, you know, to get into that mode.
Yeah, I hear you. Here you go. Chill's
So what do you
jealous.
got? So what do you got for us this week? What do you got for me?
All right, let's see. We got it's always a fire hose of stories, right?
Well, there's so much going on.
We'll start here. Trump's Riyadh speech heralds the end of the failed neocon foreign policy, which is a damn good thing. Trump defied the Pentagon, foreign agendas, and the war machine in one brazen move. Let's get into that. It took a bunch of South African refugees to fully expose the left's hatred for whites. And that is true. This Jacobin, bloated deep state relic John Brennan has an on-air panic attack. Good. I've never seen him without a scowl, especially if the word Trump comes out. It says, imagine
he's another one of these with the terminal end stage Trump derangement syndrome.
Yeah, resting prick face, I think is what they call it. Imagine that homicides are down 60% in Denver following ICE deportations. Imagine that.
Yeah, and everybody was so upset that they raided these places, and it's like, huh.
I know. It's like, so you want 60% more murder, right? All right.
Yeah.
And the story of the night, did James Comey just send a death threat to President Trump?
Well,
I think he did.
You did a whole video on that.
So. I know. We got the lefty. Well, there's all kinds of other news around it. We got the lefties who are already trying to dance for him, saying, well, 86 could mean anything. Come on. You got a guy they shot in the head. It was his ear. Where's his ear? It's on his head. They shot him in the head, right? Then they had another a-hole that tried that wanted to assassinate him as well. They caught him. After all the damn lawfare, right? This Jacobin, he is the guy that sat there all smug on Oprah Winfrey and joked about what he did, signing illegal fires warrants, 3 out of the 4 he signed. I mean, come on. Of course he meant 86, 47.
Yeah, and he's dumb enough that he doesn't know what 86 somebody means.
That's what I said. Yeah, like he I was going to say something bad, but I'll get bleeded. He worked his way up the ladder in the FBI. It's a political position, the director now, at least under the lib nuts, and he doesn't know what the term 86 means. Please,
yeah, it's
just to get rid of. Yeah, it does, doesn't it?
It's too early in the stream to say something evil.
Yeah, I know. Tulsi Gabbard, DNI, calls for James Comey to be arrested. That's a big step right there for her to say that.
Well, you know what I say to that? No shit, Sherlock.
Yeah, I know. Most hiring managers say new college grads are often terrible hires. I can't wait to read that one. I didn't read any of these. Well, except the one I wrote. Right there. All right, so let's see some of the side ones. Former Secret Service agent Rich Zeoli rips apart James Comey after 8647 posts. He has some good things to say. I read that one. FBI and Secret Service are taking James Comey's threats seriously.
Yes.
General Mike Flynn predicts that Comey will be indicted. He should get measured for an orange jumpsuit. I think he will be too, because look, they just arrested and they indicted the one judge already, Hannah Dugan.
Yeah, I mean, they got to start putting some of these people away.
Yeah, they have to, because that's look. It's either that or hit them in the pocketbook. But these guys have deep pockets because they got all those NGOs and they got the Soroses of the world and
somebody like Comey, the DNC, with Comey, the DNC would probably pay the fine.
Oh yeah, that. Yeah, well, look, they're going after Fauci too. Can't say it on this.
No, they need. I want to see these guys. There's got to be
a reckoning.
A half a dozen of them. It doesn't have to be everybody.
There's got to be a reckoning. Hey, Jeremiah, what's up, brother? Good to see you.
I want to see at least half a dozen or a dozen with numbers across your chest.
Oh, I know.
You got to see that.
I know. Let's do the first one from the Federalist. It's a good site. Trump's Riyadh speech heralds the end of the failed neocon policy. Is it policy? Yeah. All right. Truly looking out for American interests means refraining from trying to remake foreign countries in our own image. Exactly. That's what they did in the Middle East. Yeah, if we just give them hot dogs and Cokes. They'll go for
Yeah.
democracy. Yeah, okay.
And look how well that worked out.
Living in tribes for what, 2,000 years, and they think that they're going to go democratic? No. That's what happened with Iran when the Shah said, I love the American way. And you know what? The people there loved America too at the time, the Iranians.
And I imagine you get into it, but you saw he even threw a bone to Iran.
Yeah, oh yeah, he did. He did. Yeah, I think we have something in there for that. And what was but then Rubio just came out and warned, look, they're only weeks away, but they've been saying that for how long? Usually they're weeks away, and then the Israelis come in and do something. Now they're years away. Where's the Israelis when you really need them? In what was probably the most important presidential speech in decades, President Donald Trump repudiated decades of failed interventionist U.S. foreign policy in the Middle East during an official visit to Riyadh, Saudi Arabia on Tuesday. Now, if you remember, if you ever watched Trump, you know, it was like Mondays he was on Fox and Friends. Tuesday he was on with the nitwit, the murderer, Joe Scarborough, right? And then Wednesdays, it was what, MSNBC? He was on. He never changed from that. He always said that it was a mistake to go into the Middle East. It was just a mistake. You know, go after the people that and you know what? We never went after Saudi Arabia, and the majority of them came from Saudi Arabia, right? Not only did Trump lambast neocon nation building in the region, he more or less vowed never to pursue the kinds of neocon misadventures that spilt American blood and treasure over the past 25 years in the insane pursuit of creating Western liberal democracies in the Middle East. It's not going to happen. The only one that's there and will be there is Israel. In stark, which is why they all hate him, in stark and unmistakable terms, the president reminded the world of the abject failure of decades of neocon and liberal interventionist U.S. foreign policy under both Democrat and, I would say, Rhino leadership. He specifically called out the trillions of U.S. tax dollars wasted in a totally unsuccessful attempt to turn Iraq and Afghanistan into Western-style democracies as part of the global war on terror. It's not.
Yeah, good luck with that. Good luck with that.
Yeah, he said, in the end, the so-called nation builders wrecked far more nations than they built. It's true. And the interventionists were intervening in complex societies that they did not even understand themselves. And you see, they trash Trump. He just doesn't understand. No, he does. You send our kids, not your kids. You send our kids to fight wars in foreign countries because you're getting kickbacks from the manufacturers, the munitions people over here. You know, and the kickbacks come in the form of millions in donations from people you never met and never heard of, who probably don't even exist. You know, when you get those vouchers sent to them to buy all the munitions for the war effort. I mean, that's your whole gig. He said, quote, the gleaming marvels of Riyadh and Abu Dhabi were not created by the so-called nation builders, neocons, or liberal nonprofits like those who spent trillions failing to develop Kabul and Baghdad. His speech, which came after a meeting with the Saudi crown prince, did you see what he did, Jade? That the crown prince usually go ahead.
He greeted Trump personally.
Exactly.
That is Trump.
That is so unheard of because the crown prince always sends someone to greet on behalf of the government.
What did
they
he
make
do with
you
Biden?
Come to him, right? He came to Trump.
Yeah. What did he do with Biden? He sent some flunky.
Yeah, well, Biden did a fist bump to him. You know, I think Obama bowed to him.
Oh,
what is
yeah,
it with
I
these
remember
Dems,
that.
man? Obama bowed to him.
And Trump goes over there. Trump goes over there, and the crown prince shows up in person
and walks with him.
Walks with him.
You gotta love that.
You know what that means in that culture. That means we're equals.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
That's what that means.
Yeah. His speech, which came after a meeting with Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman and signing
Salman.
All right, whatever.
Salman. Not Salam. Salman.
And thank you for the correction there, Jade.
No problem. Anytime.
And the signing of economic agreements totaling $600 billion in new trade deals heralds a new approach, not just to Middle East policies or politics, but to American foreign policy generally, by disavowing the nation-building ideology of the neocons and liberal interventionists that dominated U.S. foreign policy under the Bush, Obama, and Biden presidencies. Trump articulated a vision of American engagement with the world that is both more tolerant, more transactional, and less concerned with the internal affairs of other nations. You know, it's like there were wars under every president there but Trump. Think about it. He started no new wars, and he got us out of stuff. He did the Abraham Accords, and he was nominated, I think it was 4 times, for the Nobel Peace Prize. Nobody knows it, of course, because the media, a-holes in the media.
Yeah, but
fake news.
and then you know who did get the Nobel Peace Prize?
Oh yeah, Obama, before he even did anything.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
then the funniest
He got us
part
into
about-
more. He got us into more skirmishes than George W. Bush. But go ahead.
Yeah, the funniest part about the Peace Prize was when when Trump is trying to force an end to the Ukraine war, and the guys in Europe are saying, well, you know, we control the Nobel Peace Prize.
Yeah.
In other words, if you stop funding the Ukraine war, we're not going to give you a peace prize. Does that make sense to anybody?
Your mic. There's something up with your mic.
Oh, do I have to sign out and back in again?
Well, it's just going like that a little bit. Yeah, it's doing that.
All right.
We
I'm gonna
heard
go
you.
away.
We heard you, but like every 5th word was like deep, like metallic. I'll just continue. Yeah, you can do that and go back in.
Yeah, let me just do that
Yeah.
and come back in.
That's all right. While she's gone, guy. No, I'm kidding. I'll continue this. In other words, Trump's vision of American foreign policy isn't driven by a zeal to remake the world into some version of a liberal Western democracy. In Riyadh, he was saying that Saudi Arabia and the other Arab states can just be Islamic monarchies as long as they present no threat to American interests. Exactly. America first. There you go. As long as they promote peace and stability, then we can do business with them. That's exactly correct. Right now, because of Trump, the United States is poised to be the absolute superpower of the world. I mean, we are already, even though the numbers haven't come in yet, like the cash, although there is billions coming in. But I mean, everybody in the world wants to do business with us now. And Trump, like Jade said, Trump reached out. You back? She's back. I'm sorry. I forgot.
Been here forever, bro.
I forgot that I have to go over. So
Yeah.
Trump said to Iran, just like Jade said, he said, look, I really want them to do well, to prosper, to be. He said they could be so much for that region, but they can't have a nuclear bomb. And that was it. And they want the bomb. So guess what?
Yeah, he was saying he wants Syria to be better, or to be great. He wants Iran to be great.
Yep.
And, you know, I think that's a far better thought process than any president recently that I can think of.
Yeah. Let me see. Are we on a BitChute? Yeah, we're supposed to be on Rumble tonight. But again, it didn't come through. Let's see if I can refresh. Yeah, wait. No, it still didn't put us past. I set up everything correctly. I may give up. Hey, Sheila, how you doing, girlfriend? What's going on? How you doing? Hey, Anglo, good to see you, man. Everybody's here. Good. Everybody's coming in. Nice.
Bunch of people.
Doesn't Trump know how dangerous it is to wish other countries well? Such sentiments threaten a war industry bigot.
Well, you know, it's like I said, if Trump cured cancer and AIDS, they'd accuse him of trying to, you know, destroy the medical clinic industry.
Yeah. They would support AIDS. They would support cancer. Yeah, they would.
And if it meant getting to Trump, they'd support cancer and AIDS. A little public service announcement, all you guys. Let's see if you can't mash that like button.
Yeah,
if you would, please.
There's a buy me a coffee link at the top. I stopped monetizing because for the last 2 weeks they demonetized for whatever reason. They don't tell you. So I'm not doing that anymore.
But it doesn't take any effort. Well,
right.
It does take some effort, but hardly much at all to hit that like button.
Yeah. Let me see. Yeah, I'm removing. There we are. All right.
Okay, what are we gonna do now?
I just dropped Rumble because it was just hanging on. One of these weeks I will get it. So we're on BitChute and Odyssey and YouTube. All right, next one.
You are over on BitChute too?
Yeah, we're on BitChute. BitChute though, they just got they got threatened because What used to happen was just well, I'm sorry, we are on BitChute. It was Odyssey that they did it to. On Odyssey, I think BitChute gave them the double barrel, but on Odyssey they said you can no longer have YouTube videos automatically upload to your platform because of copyright problems.
Yeah, I don't see you. I got BitChute up here and I don't see it running.
Yeah, it should be. Yeah, I have it right here. Hang on.
Maybe I don't know where to look. I don't know.
Yeah, it's running.
Okay.
I didn't start playing it until now, so it's at the very beginning. Let me see where we are. Hang on.
Anyway, we're boring everybody. Let's get on with this.
Mm-hmm. So, next, let's go. Trump defied the Pentagon foreign agendas and the war machine.
Doesn't he own the Pentagon?
Yeah, now he does. But he defied it. Well, yeah, but you got the deep state in there that wants to do everything he doesn't want to do. President Trump made a calculated, very America first decision to walk away from the failing Houthi campaign. He cut losses, defied the Pentagon, and even pushed back on Israeli expectations. The type of ballsy moves past presidents won't touch with a 10-foot pole. But don't be fooled. It wasn't weakness. It was strategic strength from a leader who isn't interested in long, drawn-out failures. Exactly. For decades, the swamp operated on autopilot when it comes to the Middle East. Launch, escalate, and stay the course, no matter the cost or the outcome, the cost in treasury or lives. For real. President Trump broke that mold when he was forced with a faltering military campaign against the Houthis in Yemen. He didn't do what every other president has done, double down or spin the story just to save face. He pulled the plug. And see, you're going to have the Lindsey Grahams, hey, coming at him, Joni Ernst, like all the neocons that are war hawks that want to spend that money and attack anybody they can. This is unbelievable. Unlike his predecessors, Trump didn't let pride, politics, or pressure from defense contractors in foreign countries dictate what the mission would be. Trump is acting like a president that we expect to act like a president, but we haven't had in 100 years. He looked at the facts 1 month in, no air superiority, no end in sight, and $1 billion already spent. I'm not going to read that. Instead of sinking more time, possible deaths, and taxpayer money into a losing fight, he chose the off-ramp, exit stage right. We don't have to read any of that. So we already know. We know what's going on. Trump doesn't like extended wars.
You get into a situation like that, you've got two choices. You either cut your losses, which is what he did, which is in this case probably the best decision. You and I don't know the details that the Pentagon denizens would know, but you got two choices. You either cut your losses and get out. Oh, that's funny.
Hootie and the blown up fish.
That's funny.
Imagine those poor fish.
Or
18's
you either get out or you go all in and say, that's it, we're leveling the place.
Yep.
So if you don't want to level the place, you have to cut your losses and get out.
Oh, yeah. Let's see. All right, next one. This is about the Afrikaners. It took a bunch of South African refugees to fully expose the left's hatred for whites. And it's true. I mean, look at them. They look like Trumpers, because everybody thinks that white people in South Africa are all filthy rich.
They're not. They're farmers.
Yeah, they're farmers. Exactly correct.
They got a little bit of land. Well, they don't even have that now because they took it off them.
Yeah, because that's why he brought them in. Now, a lot of conservatives are out there, including Wilkow, who say, I'm going to stay consistent with this. They should have gone to the next country for asylum instead of coming here. And I'm like, wait a minute.
What's the next country?
Yeah, I was like, exactly. I'm like, what's the next country that will accept white South Africans
in safety?
That the whole lie of apartheid came out. And it was a lie, guys. Everybody's been lied to for decades now about the reasons for apartheid. They want you to think, I'm going to go down it. They want you to think that the Afrikaner, the Boers, that they went there, they cut the deal with the chiefs, they got the land to teach them how to do the things that they do. They lived prosperly if that's a word that I just made up. They prospered for 400 years, 400 plus years. And then all of a sudden, one day, the entire country woke up and said, I think we're going to be racist now. Come on. Come on. What happened was you had the communists, the African National Congress, and other communists, because you had Cubans that sent military people over to Namibia and Cape Town, and they were attacking the white people inside South Africa. And the black South Africans weren't attacking. It was just the communists, which were all black, okay? But they were communists that were doing it because they said, all right, after 450 years, you built this up to be the most prosperous country in all of the continent, and therefore we want it. We want to take it from you. That's what they did. And so they said, get lost. You're not even part of the country. And they're like, it's our land. They're like, no, it's our land. Just like here, we're going to give it back to the Native Americans. No, it's not going to happen, right? So they started slaughtering people wholesale. And then the American liberals, the libnuts, got involved and got all their money thrown into it. And they had this worldwide campaign that they should get the land back. People forget this part of it, right?
From the way things have been described to me, apartheid seemed very much like a caste system.
Well, it wasn't. Here's what it was, Jade. Here's what it was. I was just getting to that part. What happened was all the Marxists with all the liberal organizations and all the donations and all that crap, they convinced a lot of people, including the South African black people, that they were being treated like crap, that they'll never get anywhere. You know, it was like slavery and all that, right? And yet they started attacking the white South Africans. And their favorite thing they called necklacing was they would stuff a tire around you, a car tire around you, and fill it with gasoline and set it on fire and roll you down a hill. That's what they would do. And so they were murdering people left and right. And at that point, the government said, well, we can't tell now who's a foreign communist or who's our own people who are attacking us. So we've tried to reach out to them. We've tried to do programs when they don't want to listen. They're communists after all. And so you can't talk to them. And so we're just going to do apartheid, which means separate. So they wanted to separate.
And that's pretty much what it was. And I've heard this from, I've known actually several South Africans, and that's what it was. It was not so much that people were being beaten up in the street. It was just,
right.
If you were of a black population, they lived in this area, and if you were white, you lived in this other area, and you didn't live in each other's areas. It's just, that's how it was, and that was the majority of it. Now, you can say that's wrong, but that's what it was. I don't believe there were any,
it wasn't about race
lynching. I don't believe there were any white gangs lynching black folks.
If anything, if any racism was involved, it was the communists who came out and said all white people in South Africa are evil. And now today, so why are they here? Well, let me read the story. All right. There's a refugee crisis unfolding right now that should have every decent American up in arms. Families are fleeing violence, discrimination, land theft, and open calls for genocide. Yeah, they have this song called "Kill the Boer." And their leader, their Marxist leader, when he gives speeches, they start doing the dance, and the entire crowd starts doing the dance, singing "Kill the Boer." They're calling for freaking genocide. And yet we're supposed to believe it was all because these people woke up 400 and some years later and said, I think we'll be racist today. That's what they want you to believe. I could even get in trouble for saying this because most people believe that, yes, the truth is that they were all racist in South Africa. And it's just not true. Not like the communists are. They're showing up with nothing but their dignity, faith, and work ethic. It's true. They're not demanding handouts. They don't want a Trump phone. I don't even think Trump's going to make them. They're not burning flags or waving foreign ones. They're holding American flags. Did you see that? They're holding American flags, which is what you do when you want to be an American. They're simply trying to survive and build something new somewhere safe. But here's the kicker. This was written by AI. You can tell by that line right there. But here's the kicker. They're white. And just like that, everything changes. White South African farmers are being hunted in broad daylight. They are. Their land is being seized. They say, yes, they passed a law like last month that they're going to take your land and they're not going to compensate you. Are you kidding me? These people have been there for over 400 years, their families, owning that land, feeding the country. And look what happened now. I mean, now the number one industry there is security, because they say that the commies, they break into your home in the middle of the night, sexually assault your family, possibly kill you, and rob you blind. That it happens every single night now out there. So you had law and order, and now you don't. All right. Their families are under constant threat. Based on all of this, President Trump has granted white South African farmers asylum. Now, yeah, they didn't come over the border illegally, right? And they go, well, they're supposed to go to the next country. Really? Can you name a single one of warm diarrhea brains illegals, Biden's illegals that came over that stopped at Guatemala or even Mexico? Did they stop at those two places? Because the overwhelming majority of them was Guatemala, right? They should have stopped there and asked for asylum. They didn't. So you got 11 to 20 million people that didn't, but you got 59 people, and they're bitching. And it's funny how they complain about these things, and you're not supposed to remember that they overwhelmingly violated what they're screaming at you about 59 people for. President Trump explains why he's granting asylum to South African farmers. Quote, it's a genocide that's taking place that you people don't want to write about. He's telling the fake news. White farmers are being brutally killed and their land is being confiscated. And the newspapers and the media and the television media doesn't even talk about it. The media won't talk about this, but Trump will. And it's true. They don't want any party. You know why? Because they spent the better of the last 40 so years or more, saying that it was the evil white racist minority in South Africa that was harming black people. And it just was not the truth at all. When Nelson Mandela got out of prison, they started calling him a leader, saying he was a moral man. You know what he said? Do not call me a moral man. He said, I am not a leader. I was not a moral man. You know why? Because the big lie, the Mockingbird lie, was that he was a political prisoner, that he was in prison for his political beliefs. He blew up buildings and killed people. He blew up buildings with government workers, and he blew up buildings with police. That's what he did. He organized the bombings of many buildings in South Africa just to kill white people. I mean, that's what he did. And then he became co-president, and then he became president. But he was the only honest one of them all. Let's see what this says. I'm going to bring it up.
Actually, the next one looks like it might be better.
What, the video?
The next video below that.
Well, I'm going to play this one. How many minutes? It's just a minute.
We don't want to see
It's
people
just-
be killed.
Hold it. God damn it. Yeah, that's what I wanted. I wanted it big.
Now, South Africa leadership is coming to see me, I understand, sometime next week. And, we're supposed to have I guess a G20 meeting there or something, but we're having a G20 meeting. I don't know how we can go unless that situation's taken care of, but it's a genocide that's taking place that you people don't want to write about.
He's right.
But it's a terrible thing that's taking place. And
see, these people will focus on the fact that he just pointed out that the press doesn't want. They will say, he's going to end the press. All because he pointed out you people don't want to talk about it. Is that not crazy? He just said there's a genocide going on, but they don't take him seriously because they don't think he's president. This is the crazy world that we live in with these people.
Farmers are being killed. They happen to be white, but whether they're white or black makes no difference to me. But white farmers are being brutally killed, and their land is being confiscated in South Africa. And the newspapers and the media, television media, doesn't even talk about it. If it were the other way around, they'd talk about it. That would be the only story they'd talk about. What aboutism? And I don't care who they are. I don't care about their race, their color. I don't care about their height, their weight. I don't care about anything. I just know that what's happening is terrible. I have people that live in South Africa. They say it's a terrible situation taking place. So we've essentially extended citizenship to those people
Oh, good.
and to escape from that violence and come here.
Yeah. Unreal. Yeah. Now this guy. Oh, let's get this guy up.
Yeah, I don't know. There's in that same story, there's actually one you might want to play under Ian Miles Chong has a video there.
Yeah,
It's
that's what I'm
titled,
playing. That's what I'm putting up now.
okay, yeah, the mainstream politics in South Africa.
Yeah, I'm going to show it now. Let me get it.
That one.
increased. Yeah, I know. Is it off? Yeah, you got to set everything up now.
The mayor of DA in PE is a white man. So these people, when you want to hit them hard, go after a white man. They feel a terrible pain because you have touched a white man. Not because Mashaba and Soli will not be touched. They will be touched, don't worry. But we are starting with this whiteness.
You
We
believe it?
are cutting the throat of whiteness.
There's also another politician. He's the president of the Black First Land First political party, the BLF. And he spoke at a rally a couple of years back in which he urged the crowd to kill white people, their children, and their pets. I'm going to see if we can expand this here and play this clip for you guys. Take a look at this clip here.
Yeah, yeah.
For each white person that is being killed by the taxi industry, will give 5 white people. For every 1 black person you kill, will give 5 white people.
Look at them clapping in the background.
5 of you. You kill 1 of us, you kill 5 of you. You kill 1 of us, kill 5 of you. You kill 1 of us, we'll kill 5 white people. We'll kill the children, we'll kill the women, we'll kill anything that we find.
I hope I don't get dinged for this.
Yeah, I hope you don't.
Yeah. Thanks, Jade.
What? What did I do? Yeah, you know, apartheid was bad, but it was basically a separation, a caste system.
Yeah, it was.
You
it
had
wasn't really a
black-
caste
where-
system because you weren't born into it. It's just that you
well, no,
could
you
not,
were. If you,
you
were,
could no longer be trusted to attack. The murders were so brutal. It wasn't just necklacing. They did all kinds of other stuff.
yeah,
to
no,
people.
but I'm not talking about the communists. I'm talking about when apartheid came in. It was like you said, separation. The blacks lived in one area and the whites
Right.
lived in a different area.
Because the white people got tired of being killed by black
And-
people who lived
and-
in South Africa.
Yeah, but I mean, there was no, lynching of blacks in the street.
No,
And
no,
in
none of that
fact,
going on.
from the people I've spoken to, it worked out. It was kept peaceful. And then I don't know, I can't remember now how long before things have been stirred up in there. But
Yeah.
now you've got the ruling political party. They have rallies and they chant, kill the Boers, kill the Boers.
Oh yeah, well, I have another video that
I
could
think
play.
we've done this. I think we've done this topic.
Julius Malema actually called for white genocide and white land seizures. And he says the revolution will require us to kill. That's what he said. This is back
Yeah,
in
I think-
December. That's what
I
he
think
said.
I think we've done the topic to death, though.
All right, but if I want to do it, I'll do it. Let me see. Oh, this
Hey,
one.
man,
This one. I know you just
What-
keep me grounded. I get it.
I just keep you back in
That's a-
line. That's my
The
job.
South Africa thing is a big. It's a big thing with me because the lie went on for years.
Well, and it's a
and-
big.
And so you got these people today that have no idea what the real reason was that it happened. They have no clue. They fully bought into these white people. They made their money off of our backs. No, there was no slavery going on there. They hired people to work. They paid them salaries. I mean, there was no slavery going on. It had absolutely nothing in common with the United States.
It wasn't slavery. It was apartheid was not slavery.
No, it wasn't. Well, that was no. Well, no, they said that prior to apartheid. That I'm talking about the whole reason why the commies came in, the communists, the African National Congress came in and argued that they needed equal rights and all that. Well, they had equal rights. The thing is that the deal that was made, right? Well, with the chiefs that owned the land was, we are going to give you this land, because they saw they had rifles. They saw that they had foods, the way that they grew them, the agriculture on it, that they didn't know how to do. They said, look, if we give you this land, will you teach us how to do these things and hire us to? And they went, yeah. And they did for years. It's not their fault that, like there was no rule that said, well, if you're black and you work here, you can't be a manager. You know, look at the sign up there. You can't argue with a sign. That never happened. It just didn't.
No, it was mostly a separation of populations. You live here, and
Yes,
we
but
live
it was
here.
necessary. Otherwise, the Boers would have been all slaughtered. They would have been killed. Hey, what's up, Linda? How you doing? Oh, that was Sheila. Hi, Sheila. Sorry, that thing pops up so fast. Yeah, my brother hit me up. Hey, what's up, Bass? Good to see you, man. This turmoil was brought to you by the Brits all along. Yeah, the Boers gone apartheid, but no one but themselves are going to protect them. That's true. It is true. That's why Trump. I didn't know he gave him citizenship. Maybe that person wasn't right in how they reported it. Here we go.
I haven't heard that. Want to talk about? Want to talk about
I
John Brennan?
already got it up. It's John Brennan. Bloated deep state relic John Brennan has an on-air panic attack. President Trump's acting director of national intelligence is doing what no one else has dared, taking a flamethrower to one of the most rotten corners of the intel swamp, the National Intelligence Council. And she's not starting slow. Tulsi Gabbard just cut loose two very entrenched deep staters with long resumes of shadowy sabotage. Mike Collins and his longtime sidekick, Maria Langdon Rykoff. Rhymes with. Let's see, Tulsi Gabbard.
When was this written? It was written May 15th. Why do they call her the acting director of national intelligence?
What do you mean?
She's not acting. She's confirmed.
They didn't say acting. They said director.
I'm looking at it right here. President
yeah.
Trump's
Wait a minute.
acting
now, who are they
director
talking
of
about,
national
though?
intelligence.
The National Intelligence Council, Tulsi Gabbard. Yeah, why would she be acting?
She's not. She's been confirmed.
Yeah. I don't get that. When was this written? It had to have been written. Yeah, 2 days ago. Well, they made a mistake. They made a mistake. I've made them myself. I want to hear what Trish Regan has to say. Trish Regan's pretty good.
I made a mistake once. I thought I was wrong.
Yeah, and you were right. Yeah, I get it.
And we're live. Good to have you here, everyone. Big news day today. We got Tulsi cleaning house, firing a whole bunch of people. And by the way, there's going to be more to come. She promised.
Nah, we're not watching that. An hour and 20 minutes. Sorry, Trish.
Holy cow.
I love you, Trish, but not that much. And you can too for just $12. Hold on. Let me bring this up. Let's go back into it. So these two weren't just paper pushers. They were embedded, highly connected operatives who ran in all the usual anti-Trump circles. Wow. Get it together, Rich. They played key roles in shaping the phony Russian disinformation narrative about Hunter Biden's laptop and pushed it through the media and intel world like a pair of highly skilled surgeons. That was with the help of Tony Blinken. Antony Blinken's the one that wrote the letter that got the 50 former intelligence people. That lie gave cover to big tech censors and helped tip an election. So, yeah. This move matters. Mike and Maria are your everyday DC elitists, anonymous to the public, but powerful behind the scenes. They're the exact kind of faceless bureaucrats who smile for committee headshots while pulling strings from the shadows. That's why their ouster is such a massive win for the America First movement and a key step toward putting control of our national security back into the hands of decent America First people. I want to get into Brennan, though. Here we go. And if you needed proof of Tulsi's cleanup job is rattling the regime to its core, look no further than John Brennan. I've never seen him without a scowl. The former CIA director, he lied. He was the director of the CIA, and he lied to Congress when they asked him, did they spy on the Senate? And he said no. And he got all smart ass and all. And then later on, because everybody said, well, we have these guys that prove that you did. We have whistleblowers. And then he had to do a mea culpa and said, yes, we did surveil because we had no idea what was going on. They made up some bullshit story, but I would have said, well, okay, then you just committed perjury. You lied under oath. The moment he heard about the firings, Brennan had a full-blown on-air tantrum. Oh, this is going to be wonderful. He's the biggest D-head. Hold on. Let's get this. Let's move it up here. Let's get the sound good. Here we
go. We're not seeing anything.
Oh, let me put it back then. Sorry. Thank you for that. Here we go. That's it.
This whole thing just makes me livid. It's appalling and outrageous and demonstrates why Tulsi Gabbard never should have been confirmed as Director of National Intelligence. Michael Collins and Marie Langen-Rykoff are two of the most experienced, accomplished, and talented analysts in the entire U.S. intelligence.
We just read that they were behind the Russian disinformation nonsense about the Hunter Biden laptop.
Community. With over 60 years of combined experience, they have worked for successive administrations since the 1990s. They
not anymore
have demonstrated time again their capabilities, their competence, their integrity, and they have served as role models for a generation of intelligence officers inside of CIA. They're CIA officers by background and by training. And this is going to have real reverberations within the workforce.
No, it's not.
Because Congressman
he's right, though. He's right. He's right. They were very talented and experienced.
Yes.
They were also crooked as a dog's hind leg.
Right. Yeah, in all the wrong things. Yeah, this jackass is actually defending people that were involved in lying to the American public. Why? Because he lied to Congress and nothing ever happened to him.
But I gotta throw this in here. I thank these two and John Brennan. I thank them from the bottom of my heart because they gave Trump 4 years to think about it.
Yes, you're absolutely right.
4 years to put together a plan.
And
4 years, 4 years to know who he wanted around him. Because if he would have won in 2020, he would have been stuck with the same dog shit.
Well, see, Brennan is still butthurt that Trump took away his security clearance. See, these guys, if they have the security clearance, they can call anyone they want and say, give me the scoop. And then they violate that security clearance, the trust in that, by then going on MSNBC or CNN or Pick Your Mockingbird, right? They go on there and spill the beans. Well, they tell them, well, it was an anonymous source, right? That's what they do. And so Trump said, no more. You're not going to make tons of money feeding them classified information.
Oh, and then they write books. And then they write books.
Yeah, because we know damn right well that it was you. So I got to hear
they write books from the perspective of what they know that's classified, with just skirting the edge. So they just don't say something that'll actually get them thrown in jail.
Right.
It's clearly a signal to tell analysts throughout the intelligence community, you tell the truth. You provide objective analysis as you're supposed to be doing.
And they don't. Like, you provided truth to the Congress?
You are running the risk of getting fired. And Michael and Maria are really the quintessential analysts that you want to have providing insight and information. And
they were involved in a lot more than just the Russian disinformation nonsense.
Analysis to policymakers.
They're the analysts that you want if you're a Democrat deep stater.
Exactly.
So they make the right decisions for U.S. policymakers. But this is a very tangible example of such dangerous and insidious corruption within the Trump administration.
Oh, God.
My God.
Yeah, he's always been a nasty SOB and just always been nasty.
Yeah,
he hates Trump because Trump doesn't buy his BS. Hey, what's up, Simon? It's not even like they'll spill the beans. They can straight up lie and claim because they have security clearance, so they are in the know. Yeah, exactly right. That's
the very worst example to that of the security clearance thing was when Pencil Neck stood up and said, I've got much more than circumstantial evidence against President Trump. And Well, show it to you. Well, it's we're working on it and it's classified, but I've seen the information and I've got this information and it's solid.
Yeah.
There's another one. There's another one. Needs a
Right.
number across his chest.
Yeah, I know. He really does. Next. Yeah, this
What are
is
we
your
doing
neck of the
next?
woods. This one's
Yeah,
on
talk about Denver.
your neck of the woods. There we go. All right. From Gateway. Imagine that. Homicides are down 60% in Denver following ICE deportations. And you still got people that are arguing that ICE should be deported themselves. The liberal sanctuary city of Denver, Colorado is experiencing an outbreak of law and order following the deportation of criminal illegal immigrants by ICE. Who knew such a thing could happen? Well, we all did. Homicides.
Yeah, like everybody. Like
everybody with a triple-digit IQ, which leaves out a lot of lefties. Homicides in Denver and other Colorado cities are down by a whopping 60%. Are liberals still going to argue against the policy of deporting people in the country illegally? Yes, they are.
Yes,
Are
they
they
are.
still going to try to defend members of MS-13 and other gangs? Yes,
they are. Yes, they are.
It's almost like enforcing law works out well for law-abiding citizens. Almost. So Denver, Fox in Denver reports. Newly released report says homicides dropped nearly 60% in Denver in 2025. And we're only in May. Homicides are down nearly 60% in Denver so far this year, according to the newly released report by the major cities chiefs association. It's a significant drop from last year and one of the biggest declines in violent crime rates in the country. And I think they went there first because of Tren de Aragua. They got notoriety by those news clips of them coming up the steps of the apartment building and just taking over the building. So I think that's why they
apartment buildings.
Yeah, that's why they went. And remember Martha Raddatz? She's like, "Wow, it did happen with a couple." And JD says, "Do you listen to yourself? It's
Martha,
only happened.
Are you listening to yourself
in America?" Yeah. Thomas says he's proud to have that distinction, and it speaks to the hard work of his officers. We've been able to see these significant reductions in crime without policing communities, said Thomas. It's one of the things that we have understood was important, and we need to be responsive, but we need to make sure we're investing as much as we're enforcing. Sarah Carter said, this marked decrease in violence comes after intensified immigration enforcement under the Trump administration, which had made the Denver metropolitan area a key focus for removals of criminal migrants. ICE has acted swiftly, arresting 538 illegal aliens across multiple cities, including Denver. Shortly thereafter, the agency expanded its efforts in Colorado, zeroing in on members of Tren de Aragua. Exactly. So who would have thunk it?
How about that? You
enforce
take
the
care
law.
of you take care of the criminals and criminal activity goes down.
Yeah.
Isn't that amazing?
That is really something, isn't it? All right, we're going to go Epoch Times.
Epic.
Via Epoch. It's spelled
Epic.
Epoch. It's spelled Epoch.
It's pronounced
we're going to go
Epic.
through
Hey, listen,
news.
it's their name. They can pronounce it any way they want.
Water. Inappropriate attire, excessive use of cell phones, poor quality of work, and foul language are just a few of the reasons 65% of U.S. hiring managers gave for firing college graduates who had recently started their first job. It's because they all believe everything should be given to them. They don't think they should have to work a job. A pollfish survey of survey of 1,000 managers across America, reported by Resume.com, revealed the reasons that 8 in 10 managers said newly hired college graduates did not work out during their first year on the job. Excessive use of cell phones ranked as the top pet peeve of managers at 78%. Some 61% of managers found their new hires were entitled or easily offended, while 57% noted that these new employees were unprepared for the workplace. Lack of a work ethic scored 54%, followed by poor communication skills at 48% and a lack of technical skills at 27%. Jade, I think this is a freaking indictment on our public school system and on our colleges.
Well, yeah.
I mean, think about it. You go to school to prepare for your career so that you're not a dredge on society. right?
Yeah, isn't that what school's supposed to be about?
That's
Is
what it's
getting
supposed
ready to
no,
do
but
whatever it is you're
what
going
the
to do?
what the public school system has become is a jobs program for adults. They care more about the employment of adults than the education of kids. That's been that
You
way
know,
since Jimmy Carter made it a
used
cabinet level.
used to be not all that long ago. You could get out of high school. You
Get a job.
graduated high school. You got your high school leaving certificate, and you could get a decent job. You could get a starter job,
Yeah.
and you could get a job as a mechanic at the local garage. You could get a job as a clerk in an office,
Yeah. It means
or
a lot of things. But
starter
now,
jobs.
what they say today that most college diplomas are the equivalent of a high school diploma back in the 1950s. So that tells you, I mean, with all the money we spend, I think we spend more money than any other country. And yet, look at us. Other concerns managers had about the graduates included lateness, failure to turn in assignments on time, unprofessional behavior, and inappropriate dress and language. 70% of companies surveyed noted that some hires had to be placed on performance improvement plans. Quote, colleges don't teach students how to behave in the workplace. And there is a lack of you know why? Because they're too busy teaching you how to trans yourself. Lack of transitional support from both universities and employers.
Yeah, they don't teach you math, but they teach you to have sex with a trans
There you
person.
go. Yeah, they teach you how to hate Jews and how to protest against anything that seems like parental authority. Most students graduate with little exposure to professional environments, so when they arrive at their first job, they're often learning basic workspace norms for the first time. Colleges should have a workplace training program to support graduates' transition to the workplace. That's not the kind of transitions they're looking for. Colleges do a disservice to students in not preparing them for work, he told Epoch Times. This is Clark Lowe, CEO of O'Connor Company. Parenting has also been pushed off to the schools, and building of character has been pushed off to the workplace. That's very frustrating. A lot of professors have no work experience beyond teaching. That's right. They grow up in academia and stay there, but all of those degrees and certificates are not going to replace work experience. Based in Pinehurst, North Carolina, the O'Connor Company is a remote company with about 60 employees, including skilled construction workers, project managers, and staff in accounting, marketing, and administration. It develops non-residential structures such as public and educational buildings. Last year, the company hired 30 new employees and plans to add 10 more this year. The latest generation seems to be getting more and more entitled, Lowe said. He and his team have also had some problems with recent college graduates, especially those who never held any type of job. In our experience, I was running a paper route when I was 14. In our experience, those people tend to be difficult to work with since the work ethic is not there and they have never learned what it's like to earn their own paycheck. Well, this is all part of the plan. The lefties, this was all part of the plan. Make them as dependent on government stipends as possible.
It's a real shame.
What's that?
It's a real shame. Back in the day, you wanted to be a mechanic. You know what you did?
Yeah.
You got a little bit of education. You went to work with a mechanic and learned to be a mechanic.
That's
you wanted
right.
to work in an office. You got a little bit of education. Then you got somebody to take you under their wing to show you how to work in that office. And you learned how to do whatever they needed in the office. You wanted to work in construction. You went, if the construction manager liked you, he put you in with another guy and you learned how to do his job. That's exactly the way it used to be.
Yeah, but the people today are not, they're not like that.
You see, the thing is that when well, that
all right,
that
well,
is,
that is
true, Jeremiah.
Hey, what's up, Louie?
True.
Good to see you, brother. See, paper route was my first job, the Evening Bulletin.
Oh, yeah, Jeremiah just blew whatever was in my head out of my head. What happens is these people, teachers, they go through all their education type schooling and get a degree in education. They've never had a job, but they've got a degree in education, and they know better than anybody else because they're teaching it, so they must know more than everybody else.
They have to, yeah.
because they're teaching it. So, and yet none of
Right.
them has ever worked a day in their life
That's exactly correct.
at a real job.
Yeah, I know. I know.
You know, at least when you get into, and I'm assuming it's still this way in things like medicine and engineering, when I
Right.
went to school, the people who were at the front of the class, they were either, most of them were medical doctors. And now, when you were doing basic sciences, like at the first year, you would have a PhD in histology, teach you histology, et cetera, et cetera.
Right. Read that.
Remove the warning labels from everything and let stupid work its way out of the gene pool. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, you know the gene pool has a shallow end, huh?
Yep. Doo-doo-doo.
Yeah.
All right. Next one.
What are we doing?
Let's see.
Are we going up to
We're
the
at the
list
top. Yeah, we're at the top now.
Former. No, I would like to. Let's see. Yeah, let's read. The FBI and Secret Service are taking James Comey's threats seriously.
Yep.
I don't want to like spend forever on the one story,
No, it's just the video. It's Jesse Waters.
but this could be good.
Oh, it's going to have the
America is
commercials.
built on
Damn it.
hard work and powered by American energy. Chevron
Oh,
feeds
man.
communities nation.
I know. We got to sit through another one.
Go away.
I had already queued it,
Love the
and
thrill of
it
hitting it
must have
big.
refreshed itself.
47th president. When people caught on, Comey tried to cover it up. He deleted the post and replaced it with this quote, I posted earlier a picture of some shells I saw today on a beach walk,
Yeah, we're supposed
which
to
I
believe that.
assumed were a political message. I didn't realize some folks associate those numbers with violence.
Right.
It never occurred to me, but I oppose violence of any kind, so I took the post down.
Right.
A political
It never
message?
occurred.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
He's the former FBI director.
Right.
He had the codes. He knows what it means. Trump's already faced 2 assassination attempts. Comey should know better. And let's be honest, he probably does. The White House says it's taking the threat seriously, and it's all hands on deck. The FBI, DHS, and the Secret Service are now investigating the threat and will respond appropriately. He deserves to be interrogated.
Yeah.
Did he really just stumble upon this thing during a beach walk?
I think they should go further, and they should do a perjury trap on him.
How do we know he wasn't the one who lined up the shells? He's been caught in so many lies already.
Yeah.
We can't believe anything he's
Fully
Yeah, and
disgraced.
the problem is, of course, as I recall, making a threat on the chief executive is an actual felony.
See,
but
Yeah, but they're
how do you-
already backtracking, saying, well, 86 means a lot more than killing. Yeah, okay. Yeah, sure.
yeah,
Sure.
yeah,
He's
you're going to tell
overseas.
me
He's
now,
overseas representing
You-
the United States, and he makes a claim like that.
was
Hey,
it
Leanne.
Get Smart?
Good to see you, girlfriend.
Was it Get Smart had Agent
Yeah, I know what you're
86
talking
and
about.
Agent 99?
Yeah, really. Get
Was it?
smart. Yeah, that's what it was. 86 and 99.
Yeah,
99
Agent
was a hottie
99.
for the day.
Yeah, she was a hottie.
Yeah, she was.
But I think it
It was
was
Marianne on Gilligan's Island. She was a hottie.
Maxwell
Yeah.
Smart. Yeah, I just verified it. Yeah, he was Agent 86. So you're going to tell me that that Comey was like such a super Get Smart? That's going to be their next. That's going to be their next defense. Is that he was just referring to Agent 86 on Get Smart?
Yeah, well, Lou, in the situation that we're in, Trump was shot in the head. He had all that lawfare. He had another assassin that they stopped. They did everything they
And-
could to stop him, and then Comey comes out like this when he's overseas in the Middle East and puts something like that out. No,
Linda
he
was
knew
asking
exactly what 40. Look, if he didn't know what 86 meant, he knew exactly what 47 meant.
Yeah.
Oh.
And he already said, "Oh, it looked political to him." So he knew. Come
He
on.
knew. You're damn right. he knew.
Linda was asking why 86. Now, I'm not sure. I think this is
Military.
well. The thing is, I'm not sure anybody's got a solid origin on that, because people say it's an old
Hospitality.
a very old military saying, and that's what I always understood.
Yeah,
But I've also heard that it's out of organized crime because you would take them 8 miles out of the city and put them 6 feet deep.
well, they also said that its popular theory is that it originated in the hospitality industry during the 1920s and 30s, likely as rhyming slang for nix, meaning to cancel or refuse.
Okay, it could be that too.
It could
I
have been
heard the-
during the
I-
Prohibition too.
I always thought it was military, like you just said. I heard the thing about the organized crime.
Right, you heard about Bedford Street?
Bedford Street.
There were speakeasies during Prohibition, and customers were told to 86 or leave through the back exit leading to 86 Bedford Street.
I hadn't
There was
heard that
another
one.
one. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
The
then
new
there was
one
Las
on
Vegas
the new one,
mobsters.
well,
What's
that's
that?
another new one on me. But the new one on me was 8 miles out of the city, 6 feet deep.
Yeah, that was Las Vegas. Yeah, buried 8 miles away
Organized
and 6 feet
organized
under.
crime.
Yeah,
Organized crime.
Yeah, exactly.
So I don't think anybody's really sure where it actually originated. But
Yeah, you're being generous. He was not he's a double digit. Talking about Biden.
Yeah.
His IQ. What next? Democrats are digging. Yeah,
I'll
here
tell
you go.
you,
I got this one.
political graves.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm doing.
I gotta
Democrats
see
are,
that one.
yeah, Democrats are digging their political graves, and President Trump is selling them the shovel. Real clear policy. Who wrote it? Larry Kudlow. Gotta love it. All right. While Democrats are busy defending criminal gang members and terrorists from Tren de Aragua and MS-13, President Trump is putting on a command performance in the Middle East. He really is. In a blockbuster speech yesterday at Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, Mr. Trump said this, quote, "Before our eyes, a new generation of leaders is transcending the ancient conflicts and tired divisions of the past and foregoing the future where the Middle East is defined by commerce, not chaos." Now, how cool is that? Let me read it again. Before our eyes, a new generation of leaders is transcending the ancient conflicts and tired divisions of the past and forging, I said foregoing the first time, and forging a future where the Middle East is defined by commerce, not chaos. That's pretty cool. Then he urged the Saudis to join the Abraham Accords. Yeah, he did, telling them, "It's my fervent hope, wish, and even my dream that Saudi Arabia, the place I have such respect for, will soon be joining the Abraham Accords." It's not because of Israel. It's not. You will be greatly honoring me. He put it on himself. You will be greatly honoring me, and you will be greatly honoring all those people who have fought so hard for the Middle East. Then he stunned the audience and drew a standing ovation by announcing that he's lifting American sanctions on Syria. Today, we met with the Syrian president, the first time an American president has done so in 25 years. In between all of this, Mr. Trump has probably raised something around $2 trillion. So that makes 7 now. 7 trillion coming from the Saudis and the Qataris or Qataris or whatever you want to call them these days. Yet, he also made it clear that Iran could never have a nuclear weapon. We talked about this. He said, let me quote, "Iran can never can have a much brighter future, but we will never allow them to threaten America and our allies with terrorism or a nuclear attack. The time is right now for them to choose. Plus, all that money Mr. Trump is raising to invest in America will be the beneficiary of the lowest taxes and regulations of any major country in the world. That's because another Trump success is the big, beautiful tax cut bill that just passed the House Ways and Means Committee under the excellent stewardship of its chairman, Congressman Jason Smith. Of course, Democrats are gnashing their teeth at Mr. Trump's flurry of new successes. Not only his tax policies, but a number of trade and tariff deals, rock bottom consumer inflation, and a resilient economy, and a huge rebound in the stock market. Democrats thought they could pound Mr. Trump with tariffs, but he has turned the tables on them with his adroit deal making. When will they ever learn? They're not going to get him. as mentioned before, Democrats backing criminals and gangsters in their crusade to stop deportations are digging a deeper and deeper political grave for themselves, and Mr. Trump is selling them the shovel. He's right.
Yes, but Rich, the walls are closing in.
Yeah, the walls are closing in. This will be it.
This
Donald
is
J.
really
Trump.
the end. The walls are really closing in.
Yeah.
Oh, we really got him this time.
Way smarter than any of us thought he was. That's right. He's bringing China to the economic knees. Yeah, he is. Roll Tide, Leanne. Teeth gnashing. Yeah. Yeah, the
Oh,
gnashing.
that's interesting.
What's that? Which one?
Julie Kelly.
Yeah, Julie Kelly's awesome. She wrote a book, the book January 6th. Guess what it was about?
January 6th.
There you go. All right. Wait. Yeah, I gotta. Oh, crap. I gotta stop this, bring it back, increase. This is the thing you got to do with X. Come on. All right, here we go.
You know, the January 6th pipe bomber. Like, we got the same answer. Jim Jordan's on the show, and we get the same answer that we get every single time, right? Which is, boy, I'd like to know.
Yeah,
like,
I like to know.
Well, so would we. And nobody has come forward with anything declarative. Now, I know you know Cash very well, and I know that there's no way, there's no, and Pam, there's no, so the Epstein, so JFK documents, like, those were thrown into the river, right? They're at the bottom of the sea. Epstein was, a lot of these crimes were 20 years old, and so who knows what could have happened with that. The January 6th pipe bombers still alive.
Benny.
And as far as we know, right? Like still like hanging out. Like, is at a Starbucks right now. And the person who planted the bombs on January 6th, the FBI agents who degraded the footage on January 6th, the people who lied to us about the pipe bomber, they're still hanging out inside the FBI as far as we know.
Yep.
So here we go. Here's a hot potato. What's going on with this?
Well, look, my belief, and
Do I look like
especially
Benny?
knowing Dan Bongino as I do, and how fixated he has been on the pipe bomber in his coverage and my interviews with him over the last few years, I'm sure this is a priority. But Benny, if there's anything that the Chris Wray FBI is going to hide under 10,000 layers of rock underneath the Hoover building, it is records related to the pipe bomber, because as my friend Darren Beatty has said for years, if you expose that was part of an inside job, if you expose that was an informant, it was an undercover agent, someone associated with the government, then
whole
the
house of
entire
cards.
January 6th narrative
Yep.
completely unravels from there.
Yep. A collapse.
So we know this.
Guys, they know who it is. Come on. They know who this person is. I think it's a woman, but they know who it is. I mean, you can only get into that area of Washington, D.C. By bus, car, right? You can't walk there, right? And so they have more CCTV than London in Washington, D.C. That's a fact. And
that's hard to do.
They can't follow the person walking backwards through all the CCTV cameras throughout the city and know if they got on a bus, in a car with the license plate, and walked into a hotel. They can't do that. They could have done that within 48 hours. They could have found out who it was very easily.
I'm guessing they know who it is as well.
Oh, they absolutely know who it is.
Direction, getting.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's not your feed. It's Julie's feed that froze for just
More
a
and more
moment.
information about
There we go.
that. Oh, see, anytime we talk about this, I swear to God, there's some.
She always makes a joke saying, "I swear to God that the Democrats or the deep state always blocks me talking," and it does happen a lot to her.
Glitch.
Yes,
happens
every single
every time.
Every time.
Yeah, it
Chris
does.
Ray, I think Chris Ray is out somewhere out in my neighborhood.
You're with the black van with the satellites on top. Julie, you're back and you're crisp and you're live, and here we go.
Yes. So anyway, if they were going to bury anything, it would be the files on the pipe bomber. But I don't, knowing also how tenacious Dan Bongino is and how committed he is to finding this out. We were hoping we would know something by now, but my guess is it's going to be much more difficult and challenging to get the information related to the investigation. As you just pointed out, we were lied to about the footage. They doctored the footage. We've already demonstrated that. Stephen D'Antuono, who was head of the Washington FBI field office, lied to Congress, saying that one of the cell phone files, data collections that they got from a cell phone provider, had been destroyed or disrupted. The cell phone providers came back to Representative Barry Loudermilk and said, that's not true. We have all the files.
Yep.
If you want our data from January 5th and 6th, we have it. So there's just one cover up, one lie, one misrepresentation over another here. So they are, like I said, if there's anything that they lacked behind many locks and keys and threw away the keys and threw away the doors and everything else, it's about the J6 pipe bomber. But I still trust Dan Bongino and Kash Patel.
Oh, of course.
They are not going to give up until they find something.
Yeah, now you got to wonder. So the director and the deputy director has all these people working under them, and they still can't get the people to point out who the pipe bomber was, because they know
there's a lot of people in the FBI who are still deep state, who are blocking them.
Yes. Yeah, and they know it. I mean, what, holy cow. Director of the FBI can't get that.
Yeah, but to get there, he's going to have to surgically extract a whole lot of people.
Oh, I know. Look, I will call it a win if we just get Kamala Harris to admit that she was at the DNC building that morning, because she denies it. She was seen there. Her Secret Service detail wrote that she went there. They have to write that down in their logs. She was seen leave. She said, I was there the whole time for the certification, because she had a role. She was a senator, right? And there's video of her at 11:30 in the morning. She's leaving with her entourage, leaving the building, but she was there the whole time, never left, right? So now you know why they didn't release that, what was it, 40,000 hours of video?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, thanks a lot, you bum.
Yeah.
He says, the chat is so entertaining. I'm only half listening.
Half listening.
What half are you listening to, official?
Yeah, you listen to his half or my half. I have a wonderful, it's a little long, but a wonderful
He asked me to
quote.
go with him, and I can't because I'm doing the show for you guys. God.
Yeah. There's a little quote, and by the time it's over, you should be able to tell me who the quote is from.
Sure.
If you tell a lie big enough and keep repeating it, people will eventually come to believe it.
Yeah,
the lie can be maintained only for such time as the state can shield the people from the political, economic, and or military consequences of the lie. It thus becomes vitally important for the state to use all its powers to repress dissent, for the truth is the mortal enemy of the lie, and thus by extension the truth is the greatest enemy of the state.
Joe Goebbels.
That's the one.
Yeah,
the one and only.
Joseph. I think I spelled his last name wrong. But yeah, do you know what Joseph Goebbels also wrote in his diary? He wrote in his diary that the Nazis got most of their trickiest propaganda things from the Woodrow Wilson administration. You know why? Because they had Edward Bernays. Don't get saucy with me, Bernays. Yeah, but they had Edward Bernays, who was the guy that was the biggest propagandist to ever sit in the White House.
And did you know that Hitler and Goebbels neither would ever admit to actually lying and producing gaslighting propaganda? I don't think they had the term gaslighting, but they would never actually admit to it.
Oh, they would never do that. But Wilson, or this guy Edward Bernays, he is the reason why bacon and eggs in America became the staple breakfast. Seriously.
Okay.
Beech nut, right? Beech nut was originally a baby food. It was the baby food company, Beech Nut, right? But originally they sold bacon. That's what they sold.
Let me back you up here, because bacon was a staple. Smoked meats of various sorts, especially bacon, was a staple back in the mid 1800s, early 1800s.
Well, here's the thing. They hired him to sell more bacon, right? So he goes out and he hires all these doctors that are like, they'll write anything and say anything for a buck, right? So they came out with this report that said that the protein found in bacon and several other things was just great, right? And so they just started selling so much bacon. Americans were going for it, because prior to that, it was the American breakfast was toast and coffee or tea. That was it. So what happens? So Bernays goes out there and he gets some, everybody's buying bacon. And then this other doctors said, wait a minute, eating that much bacon is harmful to your health because of the salt, because of several other things that are in, the pork of the bacon and whatnot. And so the company hires Bernays again and says, you better get us out of this because we can get lawsuits and all that, right? So he hires more doctors, more BS doctors to come out with, and they said, oh, we have the answer now. You have, because of they named all the things, the reasons why they said, but that will be counterbalanced if you add eggs to it. So bacon.
I'm not sure.
They gave it.
I'm not sure I'm really following this, but back, mid 1800s, typical trail food included bacon because it would last on the trail.
Yeah, sure. Well, a lot of things lasted when you put the salt on it too.
Well, yeah, I mean those are ways to preserve meat.
I actually ate a piece of ham that was, I think it was 150 years old.
Because you can preserve meat, you can dry it, you can salt it, you can smoke it.
Yeah.
A little butcher's joke, yeah.
Butcher's joke.
Talking about medical personnel, yet another struggling soldier.
Yes,
Rich, are you with me?
Yeah,
I'm
sorry.
About medical. Talking
of course
about
I'm
medical.
with you. Where the fuck else? Where would I be? Go ahead.
Hello, Earth to Rich. Earth to Rich. Come in, Rich.
I've been here the whole time, Jade.
Oh, that was you, was it? Okay, good.
No idea
Yet another struggling soldier.
Yeah.
That's a good story.
Okay. Oh, that you're naming a freaking story. All right. I thought you were still talking about history. All right. Yeah, this is the Canadian guy. Yeah, I didn't realize you were reading half of the.
I had switched directions.
Yet another struggling soldier says Veterans Affairs Canada offered him euthanasia. Guys, Commander, you guys got to have like a revolt. Of course you did. Hey, Pam, did you hear from Mike? Is he coming in? Guys, I used to run a gaming clan. It was called the 3rd Infantry Division. We ran by the 3rd ID. And we played on the World Online Gaming League, and we were a pretty badass clan, okay? We were ranked number 1 in like all the ladders. And Pam was one of our generals. That's how I know her. And he had a guy, Mike Volta, he went by, and he was supposed to come here and hang out for a little bit because we hadn't spoken in years, but good guy, damn good gamer. So I was hoping Mike would be here. All right, back to the show. So
people think I'm funny, by the way. Have you seen the comments?
Huh? That's what I was reading when you said hello, Rich. I was reading all the comments.
Yeah, people think I'm kind of funny, I guess.
I don't know. I guess. I don't know. I wasn't reading that.
Leanne thought I was terribly funny.
Okay. Well, did she say terribly or did she just say funny?
No, she just put 4 laughing emojis.
Don't say terribly. All right. It made me wonder, were they really here to help us or slowly groom us to say, here's the solution, just kill yourself? Let me make this bigger. Yet another Canadian combat veteran has come forward to reveal that when he sought help, he was instead offered euthanasia. David Baltzer, who served 2 tours in Afghanistan with the Princess Patricia's Canadian Light Infantry, revealed to the Toronto Sun that he was offered euthanasia on December 23rd, 2019, making him, as the Sun noted, among the first Canadian soldiers offered therapeutic suicide by the federal government. Unbelievable. Baltzer had been having a disagreement with his existing caseworker when assisted suicide was brought up in a call with a different agent from Veteran Affairs Canada. Quote, "It made me wonder were they really here to help us or slowly groom us to say, here's a solution, just kill yourself," Balder told the Sun. "I was in my lowest down point. It was just before Christmas. He says to me, I would like to make a suggestion for you. Keep an open mind. Think about it. You've tried all this and nothing seems to be working, but have you thought about medical assisted suicide?" That guy, number one, should have lost his license if he was a doctor, okay? But the government was behind this crap. I mean, and I hear from, like, I listen to a lot of talk radio during the week, and I hear from a lot of Canadians who said that what they would do is, like, they would come for your house, and they would put you, like if you were sick, they would come for your house and they'd say, well, you either take suicide or you will never be able to live there again. And like they were, I don't know exactly what it was. Commander, if you're listening, what was the actual story on what the government was doing as far as pushing people towards suicide, towards euthanasia? It was like they did something like, if you owed a lot of money, they would take your house from you, so you had nowhere to live. So you either had nowhere to live in the winters up there, or you just take the suicide pill. It was something like that too. I mean, you have lost all humanity when your medical tells you think about suicide, right? I mean, Jade, am I wrong? You're a Canadian. Wow, you were. I mean, am I wrong there?
Hey, listen, I'm still a physician.
Well, there you go. So, but I mean, holy crap! They tell them
just kind of boggles the mind, really.
Yeah, Belzer was stunned. Quote, "It just seems to me that they just want us to be like, F this. I give up. This sucks. I'd rather just take my own life." That's how I honestly felt. And you know why that was? Because just like Obamacare, now listen, guys, everybody goes, "Oh, Obamacare is just fine." No, it wasn't. Because there were so many provisions that were in there that had to be thrown out. Because if you notice, if you remember, Barack Obama, his regime, they had all these new things come out like every 7 months or so, because they knew it was called incrementalism. They knew if they threw everything at once, right? If they threw everything out there at once, people are like, "Oh, screw this. I don't want any part of this Obamacare crap," right? But there were so many things in there that one of the things was they were going to make it so that you could not go through your workplace insurance anymore, but if you were already on it, you could stay on it. If you weren't, then you had to go with the government plan, which meant that if you switched jobs, you couldn't take that your new company's healthcare plan, because they were going to be shut down once everybody in that company was off of it. And it's just amazing to me. You know,
I don't think a lot of that went through, because you were then
right. It didn't. That's what I'm saying. They had to pull it back because I think one man, Rush Limbaugh, was pointing it all out at the time. Let me see. They called it. Here's what he said. They called it MAID, medical assistance in dying. These sick Fs would rather kill you and harvest your organs than help you out. And yes, they have been organ harvesting. Here's the thing, though. Here's what I was getting to. Okay. The guy that actually came up with the plan, the guy that actually came up with the plan literally said that they had to lie to young people in order to get them to sign up, because what they did is they made them pay for the things that older people would pay for that the young people wouldn't, because they had no way to afford the care for the older people, because it just didn't work out without the young people's money, right? So Obama got into, and his people got into talking. If you remember, they talked about, like, they were going to have this board, and what was it called? Sarah Palin came out and said it was, what was it called? An execution board, or it was some kind of board. I can't remember what it was. They said that you would go to this board and they would determine if you should take a suicide pill or if they'll give you treatment. And death panels. That's what they called them. They called them, remember that? The death panels? And they said death panels don't exist. And Sarah Palin said, well, I'm reading right here that says there's going to be a panel that will decide in certain cases whether you get the treatment or a suicide pill. It's like, that's a death panel. But that's what the libs always come up with, because under socialism, communism, all the isms of the left, that when you run out of other people's money, you're in trouble. And so what they wanted to do is you have to ration everything. Everything has to be rationed in whenever you have government health care. And that's when the quality of the system goes down. So I can fully understand. I can fully, feel for this guy.
Yeah, this shit started after I left. I know that.
Yeah. Well, you got out apparently just at the right time.
I think so. I think so. As much as we feel our politics is, worthy of a head shake.
Yeah.
Canadian politics is a lot worse. We came here because of Canadian politics. It's a lot better.
Right.
Okay, what we going to do now?
Hold on. I'm going to play Sebastian Gorka. This is freaking awesome. He goes off on a Politico reporter. And this is really good. Pay attention, guys. You're going to love this. Where do you hear Gorka? Here we go.
A member of Al-Qaeda. If you're a member of Al-Qaeda, you're a terrorist.
How do you know if that they're members of these gangs? What I'm saying
You mean
is,
the tattoos MS-13 on their knuckles doesn't, right? That doesn't help it.
Those.
Do you have tattoos of Al-Qaeda?
The tattoo did not say MS-13.
Wrist?
I don't want to get into that.
Oh, of course it does. It's just accidents that the four symbols represent the letters MS. See, this is why Politico is a joke. This is why you are gutter press and fake news. Those four symbols that just happen to comport with the letters MS and the numbers 13 don't, in this case, represent MS-13. You're sitting here live defending a member of MS-13. That's why I regret coming here, because this isn't journalism. This is protecting those who hate America. Shame on you. We are saving lives. Sir. Saving lives. How about Maryland fathers compared to Maryland mothers? Like Rachel Marin, mother of 5, raped and murdered and thrown in a ditch. How about Jocelyn Nungare, age 12, raped a mile from her home and thrown in a ditch? It's strange that Politico doesn't do articles about her, that mother, or that 12-year-old girl. Why is that? Why is the MS-13 guy with the knuckle tattoos more important in terms of due process than the lives of 12-year-old girls brutally raped? It's weird that the priorities shift to defending the member of an FTO, but not the children and the women. Dan Crenshaw told me a story once of a 16-year-old girl who was smuggled across this border. The parents paid $5,000 for her to live in America, the land of milk and honey. She ended up locked in a room in New York, raped by more than a dozen men every day for 18 months until she escaped. She went to Dan Crenshaw's office, and I'm no friend of Dan Crenshaw's, okay? He's still got TDS. And that girl said to him, please close the border so another girl doesn't have to be raped by 12 strange men every day for 18 months. It's strange that Politico doesn't cover those stories. Right. Could you tell me why?
We have covered.
No, you haven't. You have not covered those stories. I'd like to see the Jocelyn Nungare, Rachel Marin stories in comparison to the Russia collusion garbage. I mean, let's be honest here.
Let's move on.
You have an agenda.
Gotta love it. Yeah, he always delivers.
Yeah.
Always.
I mean, that was like on target.
Yeah, Politico should cover their nose and mouth for a week. Yeah, and mouth. Hey, Louis. Awesome. Thank you, Lou. Louis donated $10 to the Buy Me a Coffee link above. There he is. Thank you, Lou. You too can be like Lou. All right. Thank you. Thank you, Lou. I hope you're enjoying the concert, bro. When did he do that? 7:30? Just now. Oh, wow. Dude.
Just a little bit ago.
Dude. Yeah.
Texas halts construction. Texas halts construction of sprawling 402-acre Sharia.
Oh, yeah. This thing. Oh, this
that might
great.
be good. That might be good.
Let me preface it for you. Okay. So what happened was there's already a community there, and there's so many houses that are there. All right. And it's a Muslim community. And what they wanted to do was to build, it was either 40,000 or 400,000. It was like twice the size of Disneyland. Okay, not Disney World, Disneyland. Okay, and it was going to be all Muslim shops, Muslim malls, mosques, homes. Nobody but Muslims could live there, right? And the way they were doing it, the reason that this happened, what we're about to read, was because these jackasses did a podcast, and the podcast was a Muslim podcast, and I believe it was in America. And the young guy, he got like I think it was $80 billion donated from, Qatar, like all those countries that, want to spread Islam around the world. And so what happened was they got all this money, and he said, yeah, and we're paying a kafir. And they all started to do the paperwork. In other words, a kafir, you have an infidel that would be like us, but a kafir is somebody who was Islam and they left. They want them dead, right? And it fits several other definitions as well. But they're going to use a white guy that was a Muslim, and now he's not, and they're going to use him as the lawyer to go in and fill the paperwork out and all, because they know that it would look bad if they did it for what they want to do. And so this was the story, and everybody was worried because, look, it's just, I won't even get into that because I'll get in trouble if I say it. So Texas halts construction of sprawling, it's 402 acre. I thought it was 40,000. 402, that's nothing. All right, 402 acre Sharia compliant Muslim only epic city. So wait till you hear this. Texas has slammed the brakes on the construction of the sprawling over 400 acre, I said 40,000, Muslim society dubbed Epic City for East Plano Islamic Center. According to the retired Plano detective Douglas Deaton, the city of 1,000 family homes and mixed-use structures would be an expansion of an already existing 74 single-family home Islamic settlement near a large mosque in an incorporated area. Lieutenant Deaton warned that the settlement bears the hallmarks of exclusionary Muslim no-go zones like those found across Europe. I like him, but I don't know if we should listen. I don't know how long it'd be. Additionally, its development is in collaboration with UIF Corporation, which has a Sharia compliant supervisory board. The past UIF Corporation president is also the co-founder of, I guess, Yakin Institute for Islamic Research, which is staunchly pro-Sharia, raising concerns of the imposition of Islamic law. In other words, they're saying, should they allow Sharia law? And people go, well, yeah, in their community. No, the United States has laws. We have local, state, and federal laws. You don't get to make up your own. Well, it's free religion. And see, that's what these jokers were laughing about. They're saying we're going to use their own constitution against them. They can't stop us from doing this.
You can't put Sharia law. You can't.
Right, but see, they'll say that it's religion. It's their religion, and therefore. Well, yeah.
What if your religion? What if your religion calls for human sacrifice?
Right, exactly. So Abbott said, he tweeted out, to be fair, or to be clear, let me just show it right here. To be clear, Sharia law is not allowed in Texas, nor are Sharia cities, nor are no-go zones, which this project seems to imply. Bottom line, the project as proposed in the video is not allowed in Texas. Meanwhile, the Lone Star State has dealt the proposed Islamic Center a blow, listen to this, after launching half a dozen investigations into the project, in addition to ongoing federal probes by the Department of Justice. Quote, this matter and similar matters are taken very seriously, and actions are being taken to address all concerns, Abbott wrote.
Yeah, I mean, the first time they try and cut somebody's hand off for stealing,
exactly. Exactly. Oh, they wouldn't do that. Yeah, and then they do it. Oh, you're just a bigot, right? You're a bigot. Meanwhile, U.S. Senator John Cornyn, right? Well, hold on. Let's start with, Governor Abbott found that the center lacked the necessary permits to continue its construction. He subsequently launched investigations into whether the funeral home was operating without a required license, whether investors had been fully informed, potential violations of consumer protection laws, and potential failures to comply with applicable applicable state and federal securities requirements, including protections against fraud. The Lone Star State governor also launched a probe into potential violations of the Texas Fair Housing Act for anticipated discrimination against non-Muslims. I'll live there. Meanwhile, U.S. Senator John Cornyn thanked the DOJ for taking his concerns seriously and launching a probe following an April 11 scathing letter recommending a federal investigation into the project. He highlighted the project's marketing language that stated the homes would be sold to non-citizens and restricted to those who contribute to the overall makeup of the community. After
i.e. only Muslims.
Only Muslim. Exactly. See, they want to balkanize America first. They want to say, okay, this is our land. We can live however the hell we want inside here. That's what they want to do, and you can't do that. Unfortunately for them, fortunately for us. After media backlash, the project changed the statement by saying it would conduct thorough, individualized assessments of prospective buyers and ensure they align with their goals. Yeah, okay.
I.e. Muslims.
Yeah. The Fair Housing Act of 1968 explicitly prohibits discrimination in housing sales, rentals, and financing based on race, religion, or national origin. It's like the country fought through the civil rights era for all these things, and now the other side, people of color, they want to have it all in their favor. It's just remarkable. Quote, I am grateful to Attorney General Bondi and the Department of Justice for hearing my concerns and opening investigation into the proposed Epic City development of North Texas, said Cornyn. Religious discrimination and Sharia law have no place in the Lone Star State. Any violations of federal law must be swiftly prosecuted, and I know under the Trump administration they will be. Yeah, it says they're going to discriminate against Christians, Jews, and other non-Muslim minorities by preventing them from living there.
Can you imagine what Kamala would have said?
Oh, yeah. Oh, she would have allowed it. She wouldn't have cared. You know, they need diversity. Well, yeah, but they're all Muslim. But they're diverse. I mean, actually, no. I can't imagine what stupidity she would come up with.
Yeah, I Merrick Garland would just stand there saying nothing.
Yeah. Yeah, well, they would investigate the people that are complaining. That's what they would do.
That's what he would do.
Yeah.
And Kamala would have some sort of an incomprehensible word salad to explain her point, and people would be left scratching their head.
Yeah, here we go. This is one on
which one are we
Gavin Newscomb. Gavin Newscomb. That's what we're going to do. Did you hear Trump when he said that in the speech? He goes, you know, Gavin Newscomb. You know who Gavin? You've heard of Gavin Newscomb. He kept saying it.
I mean, he said it. Yeah, he said it 2 or 3 times. Didn't he?
Yeah. Rambling California Governor Gavin Newsom takes responsibility for homelessness. And I wrote in my piece, I said, you know that a Democrat is up for election for a higher office when he contributed to the homelessness problem, when he finally says, we're going to fix this. California Governor Gavin Newsom has inadvertently taken responsibility for the homelessness crisis, for which the Golden State takes the trophy as the worst in the entire country. Newscomb spoke during a press conference on Wednesday where he criticized the handling. Yeah, it's like Democrats create a problem, and years go by, people complain, they don't listen. Then all of a sudden, when they realize that the fervor is much larger than they thought it was, then they step up and go, yeah, well, I understand this problem. I'm the only one that can fix it, even though they're the ones that caused it. I want to get to the video. This is great. Let me pull that up here. You got to stop it. You got to raise it. Oh, God. You got to do all this crap. All right, here we go.
And I'm just, on behalf of the taxpayers of the state,
listen to this.
Spirit of Ashley's question, I'm not interested. I'm just not, as a taxpayer, not just governor, I'm not interested in funding failure anymore. I'm not. I won't.
You hear this?
Time to do your job. People are dying on their watch. How do people get reelected? Look at these encampments.
Yeah.
They're a disgrace. They've been there years and years and years and years.
She was 9.
That same rhetoric for years. People are dying. Kids are being born. Overdoses.
Look at him acting all angry and magnanimous when he contributed to it.
I met a young man, literally, was out there doing Project Homeless Connect, reaching out near the 405 freeway. I found out the next day he was dead. In the name of compassion, because we had a notice. I could have helped him that night. I felt like a fraud. I felt like I let him down.
You are a fraud.
We got to be more aggressive. I saw a young child, a young kid in San Diego, was with the mayor of San Diego right before his State of the State. This poor kid was addicted to meth. He was a wonderful kid. And he said, I'm really glad you came. He goes, I'm struggling. And there in the tent with his wife was a newborn baby. He said, thank you for coming.
Did you throw him a sandwich?
There's no compassion in denying what the hell's going on in the streets and sidewalks. They need to step up.
These guys allow, like, oh my God. In San Francisco, you can't go anywhere without stepping in human poop. With these people just lined up in front of your home, sitting on your front stoop. He allowed this.
Enough of the rhetoric. I'm serious. Enough of the rhetoric. People are dying.
He also allowed the bill to go through. It was a proposition, but he allowed it instead of fighting it. They got all those corporations to pull out because they knocked the felony down to a misdemeanor for anything under $950 that you steal.
In this state, it is a disgrace. It is one of the principal reasons people are so angry. They don't trust politicians.
Oh my God!
Don't like
you are a disgrace.
I'm sorry to get so.
He is an absolute disgrace, and that's what I said. Democrats create the problem. They wait until it goes on. It's not like they sit there and wait, but the problem goes along. They don't do anything at all to fix it. They don't even acknowledge it. Then all of a sudden, when the screaming gets really loud and they want to get elected, that's when they go, you know what? I recognize this problem. I'm with you. And only I can fix it. Well, probably because you're the one that screwed it all up in the first place.
Intense about it. It's a moral issue. They need to do their job. And if they can't do it, let me know. Just say we give up.
It.
And then we'll intervene. We'll come up with different strategies and different approaches. But I'm sick and tired of all the barriers and all the BS.
He is the ultimate barrier.
We're sick and tired of your BS.
Oh my God, he is the worst barrier of them all.
That reminded me of, when they have in the corner, they've got the American Sign Language.
What's up, Chris? Good to see you. Yeah, I know. They always
ASL
do.
interpreter. I remember seeing once, there was some comedy show, obviously, and there was somebody talking like Gavin Newsom there, and the person was doing their.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden they kind of went.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, Louie and I used to hang out at this place called Graham's Pub in Philly, and there was real loud music one night, and there were these two women on the other side of the bar, and like we were yelling back and forth to each other. It was funny, right? We were having a good time. We didn't know them; they didn't know us, and so the girl was like trying to say something, and I couldn't hear her. And I always had this habit of going, "I can't hear you." I would do that in the loud thing, right? And I was about to do it, and the one girl turned to the other, and they started signing. And Louis turns to me and goes, "You were going to do the I can't hear you, weren't you?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I was. Thank God I didn't." So I didn't understand a damn thing they said, but it was a fun night anyway. I won't get into the details. So let me see. We now have them here in China. Went to high school in Abbotsford.
Abbotsford.
Yeah, that's funny, man. All right, next one. Let's see. LOL. Democrats threaten DHS over pending arrest of colleagues.
How about before that one? How about the Tom Homan one? I want to see that one.
The red? Yeah. That's a good one.
Texas, Tom Homan and AOC. Yeah, it's in the blue. Extremely intimidating.
Oh, it's in the blue. Okay. Because this one, yeah, hold on. I grabbed the wrong one because I'm an Egypt. Let me see. Where is it? I just saw it said Tom Homan. Hold on.
Right near the middle. It's in blue.
Yeah, I got it. It's in the blue. Extremely intimidated. Yes. Here we go. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm sure
he's
intimidated.
Right, these things come up every time. Extremely intimidated. Tom Homan decimates AOC after her threatening remarks.
I'm sure he feels intimidated. I'm really sure.
All we have to do is play the videos. We don't even have to. We'll play hers first. Because she's an agent.
Is allegedly looking into
Hold on.
arresting members of Congress who were showing up for their legal and constitutional obligation to conduct oversight.
Wrong.
If anyone's breaking the law in this situation, it's not members of Congress, it's the Department of Homeland Security.
So in other words, she's saying that in an act of oversight, she was allowed to call and do bullhorn announcements of illegals in how they could avoid ICE arrests. That's what she did. And now she's here bullshitting all of us, saying that they were doing it for oversight. Can you believe this? That's why Homan is going after her, because she gave classes, probably on this stupid Zoom thing she's on. She gave classes to people on how to avoid arrest.
It's people like Tom Homan and Secretary Kristi Noem. You lay a finger.
See, they think that if they double down and they put their finger up and you lay a finger, that you're going to be scared. I hope Homan busts her.
On Representative Bonnie Watson Coleman, on Representative or any of the representatives that were there, you lay a finger on them, we are going to have a problem.
Yeah, you're going to have a problem.
You're right. You're right. There is going to be a problem.
Since you were named in that, your thoughts on what Congressman AOC says that about you and whether or not if you lay a finger on, or maybe you can tell me whether arrests are likely. What can you give me an update?
Well, first of all, I am extremely intimidated. Wow. Look, she's foolish. Bottom line is, as she's been yelling and screaming for the last 4 years, no one's above the law, including members of Congress. I've said from day one, you cannot support ICE. Shame on you, but you can do that. You can protest against ICE.
Yep.
Okay, I disagree with you, but you can do that. But you can't cross the line.
Right.
You can't cross the line of impediment. You can't cross the line of knowing and harboring or concealing an illegal alien. And you certainly can't trespass on the ICE detention facilities, and you can't violate the law. So when you cross that line, we'll ask the Attorney General to prosecute, and that's what we're doing.
Good.
And has there been a response from Attorney General Pam Bondi? Is she looking into it? Is it likely? Can you give me the latest on that?
I can tell you.
Or is it just saber rattling?
I can tell you there's lots of video being reviewed. There are statements being taken from witnesses.
Yeah. And that's the one where I think it was the mayor up there said, the ICE agent shoved me, and the video shows the exact opposite. She was shoving the ICE.
So we'll see where the investigation leads. Wherever the investigation leads, that's what we decide what to do. But Alina Hobb will make the ultimate decision if anybody more is going to be prosecuted. I've seen the videos, and I think the Congress people that were there were extremely unprofessional. Yeah. This is a facility. They've been screaming and yelling. We demand due process. We demand due process for illegal alien gang members, terrorists. And here's a facility that gives them that due process.
Yeah.
And they want to shut
up. See, this is where Tom Homan done effed up. Due process to a Democrat means they're allowed out on the street to prey on more American citizens.
Down. They want to prevent ICE from operating that facility. And when you force your way in a facility, when you cause chaos like this, it puts the officers at risk, the unarmed employees at risk. We got some bad people in that facility, and we got to maintain maximum security of that facility. So what happened there is extremely unprofessional by the part of the protesters and the members of Congress. And we'll see when the investigation comes out. If there's going to be additional criminal charges, not my decision. That will be all up to Alina Hobb.
Right.
And what's interesting is, I can't remember where I saw it now, but recently I saw somebody put up that video, the video of them of the Democrats going after the ICE facility, and they put up as a contrast when a couple of Republicans went and tried to see the J6 J6 protesters that were in detention. Yeah. And they stood there politely and they said, no, you can't come in and see them. And they
and nobody started shoving. Yeah, nobody started shoving.
I mean, they verbally expressed themselves and said,
sure, you have a right to do that. You can't touch me.
We should be able to see them. And they did things like that. But there was not even any yelling.
See,
and there
you know
was
what it-
certainly no pushing and
You know
shoving.
what it is? Because the progressives, they think that they think that they're always right, but they think they are so righteous that things like assault and battery laws don't apply to them. They're above
No,
the law.
because
They truly are above the law.
after all, we're right, so we get to do that.
What's
You
up,
know, as a
Billy? You
follow-
forgot it was Friday. Good to see you, man. Thank you.
As a follow-up to that, what about the LOL Democrats threatened DHS?
Yeah, that was the one I was going to bring up.
Yeah, that just to complete the circle here.
Yeah. Let me bring it up. Red line. Democrats threaten DHS over pending arrest of colleagues who stormed ICE facility. So, is there a video? Yes. Yeah, this is. I'll read some of this. Democratic lawmakers have threatened the Department of Homeland Security over potential arrests of their colleagues who stormed a Newark, New Jersey ICE facility holding dangerous criminals. Look, if anybody else had done this, they'd be arrested. They're not just anybody. They're people that should know better. But they think because they hold the purse strings that they can do whatever the hell they want. Guess what? House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries made a direct threat when asked what would happen if the agency arrested Congress members involved in the fracas. Yeah, let's go down. This is going to be a hoot.
Questions?
Mr. Leader, good afternoon. What would your statement the other day after there was this incident in Newark, you said they better not touch our members.
Correct.
What happens if they were to go and arrest these members or if they would try to sanction them here in the House of Representatives?
They'll find out.
What would you do? I mean,
They'll find out. Yeah, all right.
But doesn't that broach
You have no power.
Doesn't that go across?
That's a red line.
What's the red line though? I mean, I know we have this.
It's a red line. It's very clear. First of all, I think that the so-called Homeland Security spokesperson is a joke. It's a joke. They know better
No, your people should know better.
than to go down that road. And it's been made loudly.
No, because you have to stop it at every point because they just escalate. Am I wrong, Jake? They just escalate and go worse and worse until somebody gets hurt. Think about it.
And abundantly clear to the Trump administration.
No, they broke the law.
We're not going to be intimidated by their
But you want ICE to be intimidated by you. See how they turn it around?
tactics to try to force principled
He doesn't even know what he's going to say.
opposition from not standing up to their extremism. It hasn't.
There's no extremism. They're getting due process in this facility. And these people, you know what it is? They want to go in. They want to show their constituents that they give a damn about the brown people inside the building. That's what it's all about that nobody else wants to tell you. They don't give a rat's ass about those people. They're doing it because they want to say, look, these evil Republicans, they're locking up these people from south of the border. And we support these people south of the border. Yeah, but they're locked up because they're criminals, not because they're illegals. This is not a facility that just holds illegals that casually walked over the border. No, this is for criminal aliens.
It happened during the entirety of this failed term. It didn't happen when Donald Trump temporarily was sitting high in the immediate aftermath of the election. Do you
Wait a minute. He says that Trump got high? I don't think so.
think it's going to happen now when he's the most unpopular president
Do you hear this?
in American history?
Donald Trump, when he said this, Trump had the highest rating he's ever had. The highest rating.
And in New Jersey,
Yeah.
his unpopular is like even 50-50. It's 47% to 47%.
And you said it. You said the magnanimous part. In New Jersey?
In New Jersey.
Yes.
New
Yes.
Jersey is
And this-
now
this
New
jack-off-
New Jersey has now become a battleground.
Yeah, and I know. And this jackoff just said in history at this point in his presidency, he has the worst. Wrong.
After his first 100 days, give me a break. No one's intimidated by this dude. No one.
You should be.
Should be. Exactly.
And so
you should be.
There are clear lines
'Cause
that
he ain't
they
playing
just
around.
dare not cross.
He doesn't even know what he was going to say because he didn't think he was going to be asked that question.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Well, he's not used to the media actually asking questions that matter.
Yeah, I'm going to show you the body cam footage now that Benny Johnson, once again, yeah, everybody talks about he wears the black. I started wearing black, not because of Benny Johnson, because I saw it the other day and I went, oh shit, he's wearing black all the time. Only because I'm going to be totally honest with you guys. I bought like a dozen of these so that every day it's like the uniform. The reason why, suppose you're filming something and something comes up and you got to, crap, and you got to cut filming. Well, when you come back, you're like, oh, crap, that was yesterday. I have a different shirt. No, you don't. You just grab a new one that looks just like this. That's the whole reason why I did it. There we go. Let's bring this here. And I'm sure that's why he does it, too. There you go. Watch this. This is a screaming from members of Congress.
We're not seeing it.
See this woman in red? Look, she's shoving.
We're not seeing it.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. Why do I do that? Oh, you know why? Because I never pushed it. I thought I did. Damn it. All right. I'll bring it back. Hang on. Yeah, you're gonna see look for the woman in red. She's the mayor of the town. And
the mayor is Ross. I don't remember his last name. The mayor.
I heard she was the mayor. The woman in red.
She's like a state congressman.
Okay. Well, she's the one that went around saying that the ICE agent shoved her. Well, no, that's not what you're going to see in the video. Watch. You just watch. Boom, shoves him. Shoves him again. Shoves him again.
Yeah, that's the state Congress critter.
All right, fine. Look at this. Using. Is there a charge for using your fat to assault someone? Look at this. Yeah, she was very quiet. She was very cooperative. She just touched the agent. You see that? You don't tell me what. Yeah, I do. Listen. An animal. He's an animal.
Yeah, they need to put some of these people away.
I'm telling you. And Hakeem, if they dare touch what? Yeah, okay. All right. You don't put your hands on me? No. You shoved a man, an agent, out of the way. You lose.
She's lucky she didn't have to eat asphalt.
I know. I hear that's fattening.
Yeah. She's lucky she just didn't end up face down in that parking lot.
There's a third one. Not really.
That's. I want to see what the Democrats are saying about John Fetterman.
Yeah, they're saying he's mentally ill.
Yeah, I want to see that one.
Every time we bring him up, you say the same thing, that the further away he gets smarter. The more he gets
his stroke,
his shit back together, the more conservative he is.
Yeah, as he recovers from the brain damage related to his stroke, he's becoming more reasonable and more conservative.
And that's why the Democrats are saying that he has to be mentally ill. He just has to be.
Yeah, we got to do that story.
Yeah, I'm going to bring it up now. Yeah, it's a video. You'll see the way they talk about him. It's just unreal. I would still never vote for him, but I now feel sorry for all the things I made fun of him for when he had a stroke.
John,
well, he's actually saying some reasonable things.
I watched this one.
Yeah, let me start over. Yeah, he is. He actually is. He still says things. I would never vote for him. He's in my state. I would never vote.
John Fetterman. I'm from Pennsylvania. So I watched this one, and it occurs to me that we've been bashing the media and all the people in the White House that covered up for Biden. Now we have people around Fetterman's circle that are raising alarms, and nobody's believing them, or they're saying, oh, it's a left-wing conspiracy because Fetterman. So I don't understand. Again, here we go with hypocrisy, my favorite subject. So that's my one question is, I think, Mark, you alluded to some other big news coming down about Senator Fetterman, or someone had last week alluded to that. And I was just curious if you guys have heard anything more about that. I just don't know how we square the whole, nobody around Biden raised a flag and now we're bashing them. Everybody around Fetterman seems to be raising a red flag and we're bashing them. Like, these people, you know, I wouldn't go into government. You couldn't pay me enough at this point to go into government.
All right.
Okay,
That's
she's
a lot
got
of
a
good
good
stuff.
point there.
I will say on Fetterman, I really don't understand why Republicans are being so outspoken for him. If it's genuine, because I think he's a great guy getting a bad shake, or they're trying to recruit him to switch parties, or they're just trying to make mischief with the Democrats. But I can tell you, behind the scenes, Fetterman's behavior warrants the commentary it's gotten plus more.
Listen to this.
I can tell you that. Sean.
So first of all, I agree with you.
This is Sean Spicer, by the way.
Like, let's just be clear. And I'm glad, Jackie, that you're bringing this up, because I think that John Fetterman should get the help that he needs, right? And if he's not, and that two things can be true. I sincerely, like, if he's got issues, mental or physical or whatever,
what the hell are they talking about? That's the question.
I hope to God that he gets the help that he needs. But putting him in a position and creating a wall around him that says we can't criticize him. His own staff is out there. I get, let's not be mean to him. Let's not pile on with him. But at the end of the day, this guy's representing the state of Pennsylvania.
Look, again, I'm never going to vote for him, but he sounds reasonable, especially for a Democrat. You know what it is? They're saying that, like, a lot of people from the area that voted for him as mayor and then as lieutenant governor, they're saying that the John Fetterman you see now is the real John Fetterman, that he is a moderate Democrat. He's not a moderate Republican. He's not a moderate. He's a moderate Democrat, which is why I would never vote for him. But it means that he's not a lunatic leftist. Right? We can work with moderate Democrats. We can't work with the progressive left.
And the interesting thing, I mean, this is what they're saying now, yet when he was not yet recovered from his stroke, to the point where he could not understand the spoken word, and he needed constant teleprompter. They had to put teleprompters in the hallways so that he would be able to read them, because he couldn't understand spoken speech.
Right, and that was a true.
But they were supportive of him then. He was okay then.
But see, my whole criticism of him then was he should have stepped down. Right?
No, but what I'm saying is the Democrats,
you're right,
supported him then. Now that he's recovering.
Hey, Special K, what's up, man? Good to see you.
Now that he's recovering, they don't like him. Now they say he's got brain damage.
Right now they say it, right? But my point was, I didn't like him because he should have stepped down, because he couldn't think straight. He couldn't understand people speaking to him. How was he supposed to represent the state? And it was an embarrassment. But now he sounds reasonable, even though he's wrong on most things. But he sounds reasonable now. So I'm not going to, he won. I don't know if he won legitimately or not, but he won. So, let him do his term, and we'll beat him the next time. Now, I don't think you should call. I mean, think about it. They have AOC, for God's sake. I mean, she's borderline, to begin with, right? And then they had Joe Biden, warm diarrhea brains, for 4 years, and think about it. These people here all talking about Fetterman right now, and I'm not defending Fetterman, trust me, but they're all talking about him now. These people said nothing about Biden's cognitive problems, and they knew from 2019, they knew that he was not there. They knew it.
And we know that's a fact because the media is now saying that they were deceived by the Democrats.
Right, they were deceived, right? No, they weren't deceived. They went full hog into it.
They were in it too, yes.
They knew he was brain dead.
But the funny thing they were so supportive of John Fetterman when he could not understand the spoken word. And like you say, I'm with you. How do you represent your state when you can't talk with anyone?
But see, we all know what the answer to that was. It was because they didn't want to lose the seat.
Yeah, and the only reason they're not supporting him now is because he's not a left-wing lunatic.
Yeah. The end of the tube. Yeah. All right. Next one. Sheriff.
What else?
Women's death.
I like this one. Sheriff says six charged in women's death.
That up. That's the one I was going to pick. Great minds, right?
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. Sheriff says 6 charged in women's death, including minors, could be deported from the U.S. I say let them do their hard time and then deport them. We got to pay for them. Yeah, put them in solitary. You don't have to pay too much.
No, put them in San Salvador. They said they would take them.
Yeah. Now you know it's Live 5 News because they called them undocumented. 6 undocumented immigrants. They're illegals, including 3 minors, were charged Monday in connection with the shooting that left a woman dead during an attempted robbery in South Carolina. Brightest and best, right? Yeah. We got minors there that are being accused of murder. The deadly shooting happened just before midnight on May 2 along Riverside Road in Lancaster. Officers said they found 40-year-old Larisha Thompson behind the wheel of her Honda Accord, dead from a gunshot wound. Yeah, they're just children, right? Earlier in the evening, deputies said Thompson left her home nearby and headed to Rock Hill. She was alone. Family members lost contact with her, began searching, and found her dead in her car. This shooting defies any sense of decency in a civilized society. Well, they're not decent because they're in a civilized society. Right? Lancaster County Sheriff. Yeah. Ms. Thompson was going about her business on a Friday night, not bothering anyone. On Monday, the sheriff's office said they had arrested 6 people in connection with the shooting. 3 people were being charged as adults, including 21-year-old. Well, they are an adult. 21-year-old Asal Torres Chirinos, 18-year-old Jarby Ramos Oderi, and 17-year-old Jason Pineda Salgado. Hey, each was charged with murder, attempted armed robbery, and second-degree burglary. They're being look at that. So, in other words, they robbed her personally, and they went in to burglarize her. That's how they got her.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. Did they rob her, or was she in the area when they robbed something?
She probably woke up or noticed them, and that's when they attacked her and robbed her. It was armed robbery too. They had the gun, but then they shot her. Damn. That being, they are being held in jail without bail. Additionally, and how much you want to bet? 80-20. The Dems say don't deport them. You know, we need to see them. We need to have a trial, right? Don't deport them. Their names will not be released since they are juveniles charged in family court. Well, what about the ones that they said are being charged as adults? Right? So if they're adults, then they're adults. Put their names out. According to the sheriff, all 6 are in the U.S. illegally and are facing deportation under federal immigration law. Of course they are. Good Lord. Good Lord. Look into my, let me see. They friggin' took my fingerprints and eyes. What? At LAX? Okay. Next one. Let's see. Poland's dangerous anti-speech. Yeah, get this.
Yeah, let's talk.
Poland, how much they turned. You know, whenever a country goes left, they go nuts. Poland's dangerous anti-speech government is a threat to the U.S. The U.S. House Judiciary Committee is very concerned about a threat to free expression that is growing, not just from the EU's regulations, but from the current Tusk government in Poland. My son was just over there in Poland. Chairman Jim Jordan and 4 other congressmen wrote to EU Commissioner for Justice and Rule of Law, Michael McGrath, asking how the EU plans to respond to what they described as disturbing developments under Prime Minister Donald Tusk. Even the name of the committee is Orwellian. The leftist Tusk government appears to be using lawfare against its political opponents in the conservative Law and Justice Party. He is pressing criminal charges against party leader Jarlem to put him in prison. Yeah. They are allegedly grilling people in the most terrifying, abusive way. Tukistas are trying to shut down a TV station that criticizes the Tusk administration. The EU is doing nothing about it. Of course they're not. They have in the past condemned the Conservative Party, but not this alleged totalitarian abuse. They themselves are abusing the free speech values they once held, and they want to use the markets to silence Americans like Elon Musk. Oh, yeah, they want to arrest him.
Oh, yeah.
This is why trade with Asia and the Middle East is necessary. Oy vey. Yeah, so in other words, the polls have gone woke, have gone crazy. Wow. Shift agents. Yeah, this is good.
How
Field
about top
officers.
Iranian official?
Well, I already called the FBI. I'll do that next. FBI field officers ordered to shift agents to immigration crackdown. The shift will likely reduce federal law enforcement resources devoted to counterterrorism and counterintelligence. They shouldn't even be in counterintelligence. They're not an intelligence agency. All right, they go out and they grab bad guys up. A separate effort will reduce white collar crime probes. Ugh. NBC, you got to remember. FBI field offices around the country have been ordered to assign significantly more agents to immigration enforcement, a dramatic shift in federal law enforcement priorities that will likely siphon resources away from counterterrorism, counterintelligence, and fraud investigations. Multiple current and former Bureau officials told NBC News. The orders, given in a series of memos and meetings in FBI offices this week, come at a time when the Trump administration is proposing to cut 5% of the FBI's budget. Well, they got rid of all those people. And as the Justice Department is deprioritizing investigations of certain types of white-collar and corporate crime, according to a memo obtained by NBC News, because white-collar guys aren't going around slaughtering people, for the most part. The new push is happening as FBI Director Kash Patel also approved 667 requests for FBI personnel to take early retirement requirement this week.
Yay.
Two people familiar, with the matter told NBC News, it's either get out that way or we'll walk you to the door. As you know, we have been actively engaged in immigration enforcement efforts in coordination with our DOJ and DHS partners, said a memo from a senior FBI official to managers was obtained by NBC News. Starting this week, we will need to see an increase in operational tempo in your immigration efforts. DOJ expects a significant increase in the number of agents participating in immigration enforcement. So in other words, the focus is going to immigration enforcement within the FBI, and NBC News doesn't like it.
Of course, NBC News doesn't like it.
Yeah, because that's their whole thing. Now, what was the other one? I'm sorry. What did you want to do?
What was the other one? What's the next one?
Oh. Let's see. Newsom extremely intimidated.
Is there something new about in that update, James Comey? Is there something new and different in that one?
Let me see. Yeah, it says it takes a turn. It's the formal letter that was sent out.
Okay, we already know about James Comey. I just didn't know if there was
there's a
news.
formal. Well, hold on. There's a formal letter has just been sent to the Secret Service director. That's what that's about. And the letter demands that.
Okay, we know. Yeah, we know all about
that. He get. Yeah, but if I want to read it, I'm going to read it. The letter demands a full probe. Let me see. Andy Ogies sent a letter. Yeah, it's about he sent a letter to Secret Service saying, you guys might want to charge this bastard. Yeah, because you know what? Even if he gets away with it, think about all the whack jobs on the left that are going to be triggered. Yeah, well, he just sent me a signal. Where's my tinfoil hat? He just sent me a signal to kill Trump. I mean, think about all the whack jobs that are out there. Pick one. What do you want to do? Texas?
Yeah, which ones haven't we done yet? Let's
Top
see.
Iranian. It was the Iranian officials.
Oh, the Iranian one. Yeah, that's the one.
Top Iranian officials. Say Tehran. Yeah. That one? All right. Yeah, I was going to read that earlier. Didn't. Let's see. Top Iranian officials says Tehran would forego highly enriched uranium in nuclear deal with Trump. Don't you believe it? And I don't think Trump believes it either. Ready? Iran is ready to sign a nuclear deal. Yeah, because Trump will make them poor again. Iran is ready to sign a nuclear deal with certain conditions with President Trump in exchange for lifting economic sanctions, the top advisor to Iran's supreme leader told NBC News once again. Ali Shamkhani, a top political, military, and nuclear advisor to Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, whatever, is one of the most senior Iranian officials to speak publicly about the ongoing discussions. He said Iran would commit to never making nuclear weapons. I don't believe that. Getting rid of its stockpiles of highly enriched uranium, don't believe that either, which can be weaponized, agree to only enrich uranium to the lower levels needed for civilian use, and allow international inspectors to supervise the process in exchange for the immediate lifting of all economic sanctions on Iran.
Well, you know what
Show
I
of
say?
hands. Does anybody believe that?
Here's what I say.
Crickets.
Here's what I say. Trust but verify.
I don't say trust.
Got to verify, because that's one of the
Death
things.
to America. That's what they.
Yeah,
they
that's
death
one of the
to
things.
America.
Yeah, no, they said they would allow international inspectors. But that's one of the things is that with the Biden troop, they said, "Oh yeah, we want to come in and do our inspection now," and they would say no.
Yeah, see this? They told me we think your son is retarded. Earl Musk said of Elon. He is on the spectrum, but yeah.
Well, apparently, yeah.
Yeah, I don't believe a single word that the Iranians say. Never. Let's see. Poland, DHS.
Yeah, like I said, the problem is trust but verify. You can make a deal with them, but you shake with one hand and hold the gun in the other hand.
Right. Here, let's do the next one. Trump brings the Florida blueprint of state immigration enforcement nationwide. Let's bring it up. This week, Florida's public safety czar and executive director for the State Board of Immigration Enforcement, Larry Keefe, announced that President Donald Trump's administration would be utilizing the Florida blueprint for other states when it comes to interior immigration enforcement. Quote, within the next 60 days, the techniques, the methods will be the standard our brother and sister states apply, Keefe said. This operation plan, the Florida blueprint, the prototype, the archetype, what it is that we're doing in Florida, 37 pages of here's what we recommend for the country, here's what we recommend for the other states. Well, let's give it a listen.
You heard the governor mention, maybe Director Kerner mentioned it, but this operation plan, the Florida blueprint, the prototype, the archetype, what it is that we're doing in Florida, 37 pages of here's what we recommend for the country, here's what we recommend for the other states, that I'll talk a little bit more about in a second. It is very fitting that we're here today at the Florida Highway Patrol Station, and I want to thank Director Kerner, Colonel Howes, for their effort, for their work, for what they've done, because they are truly at the tip of the spear of this effort. And the work that they have done thus far, I believe that you will see, for reasons that I'll talk more about in a moment, that within the next 60 days, according to the President of the United States, you will see what it is that you are doing is becoming this blueprint or this role model for the rest of the country. Within the next 60 days, the techniques, the methods, the things that you were just mentioning in your remarks will be the standard that our brother and sister states.
See, I kind of like that, because federal law enforcement, like the feds, because of Article 1, Section 8, they have the right to do immigration law. But the states, if there's an invasion, the states are allowed to protect their homeland. Each state is a country. A lot of people need to learn that. Each state is a country of its own, right? Just because they got together, they're the United Countries, the United States. And so I think states have the right once they have an invasion, and we had invasions. Thanks to Joe Biden, warm diarrhea brains over the last 4 years.
We used to be in many of the early papers, we were called the several states.
Yeah. In the several colonies. Lucimenda, TD. Here we go. This is good. Exclusive. Meet the TDS cult expert behind the FBI's lawfare machine. See how they got the tinfoil on his head? That's funny. In the middle of a quietly unfolding federal trial against former executives of a Silicon Valley wellness company called One Taste. This is a big case. Something truly extraordinary happened. Through the grind and determination of civil litigation, subpoena battles, and courtroom discovery, One Taste stumbled onto a trail of evidence that doesn't just raise questions about their own prosecution. It raises red flags about the very foundations of how federal agencies have been operating since the start of the lawfare era. At the center of this discovery is a man named Stephen Hassan, a self-described cult expert who authored the book titled The Cult of Trump. A leading Trump cult expert explains how the president uses mind control. Think about that, guys. He's a so-called cult expert of Donald Trump. How does one become a cult expert? Look at him. He just looks like a goofball. This is the man whose work is now featured on the FBI official website, and the man whose BITE model, a subjective framework built on emotional, behavioral, and thought control, is being used to train FBI agents on how to identify cult victims. This questionable training has been directly linked to criminal cases involving spiritual communities like One Taste, where former members were encouraged to reinterpret their past experiences as trauma with the help of taxpayer-funded victim services and workshops hosted by Mr. Hassan. In other words, he's a grifter. According to documents reviewed by Revolver, federal prosecutors directed One Taste defense attorneys to look to the media, specifically referencing a BBC podcast featuring Stephen Hassan and several former members, saying it would help them understand the crime under investigation. That podcast, which is now the subject of a legal complaint by One Taste, contains no formal criminal allegations or defined legal violations. It offers only personal stories, cult rhetoric, and opinion-based. In other words, we're allowing the lunatics to run the asylum once again. A cult expert. Oh, good Lord.
You have one on here, fourth one from the top, one of Trump's most important executive orders.
Yeah, it went totally unnoticed. Here we go.
That'd be a good one.
Yeah. Okay. One of Trump's most important executive orders went entirely unnoticed. So, not long after Michelino Sunseri, a professional mountain runner, finished a race across Grand Teton last fall and found himself on the receiving end of a Justice Department criminal charge. His offense, running on a closed trail for which he could end up serving 6 months in jail. We're not making this up. Last Friday, President Donald Trump signed an executive order designed to prevent such gross abuses. It is one of the most important and underappreciated actions he's taken. The crime Sunseri committed wasn't a federal law passed by Congress. It was a crime invented by the National Park Service. Chevron. One of some 300,000 federal crimes, although nobody knows exactly how many there are, that unelected bureaucrats have conjured up when writing regulations. Yeah. What's more, many of these regulatory crimes are strict liability offenses, which means that you don't need to have criminal intent to be charged with a crime. This status quo is absurd and unjust, Trump says in his executive order. It allows the executive branch to write the law in addition to executing it. Now, this is a sitting president saying, hey, my people are actually doing this, right? So he's not BSing you, right? He's trashing his own departments. That situation can lend itself to abuse and weaponization by providing government officials tools to target unwitting individuals. All true and deeply disturbing to anyone who cares about civil liberties. All right. Trump's order discourages criminal enforcement of regulatory offenses, prioritizing prosecutions only for those who knowingly violate regulations and cause significant harm, and requires each agency to produce a list of all enforceable criminal regulatory offenses, the range of potential criminal penalties, and applicable state of mind required for liability. So in other words, Trump is trying to enforce, I guess, the Chevron ruling that executive branch bureaucrats can make rules to run their branch, but they can't make rules that are actual laws that punish citizens. And those laws and punishments didn't come from Congress.
Yeah, this whole thing about bureaucrats making law is, I mean, the Democrats love it.
Sure they do, because if the law, because they just changed the law when they're not in power anymore. They right before they lose, they change the law so that they don't get used for it, hit for it, whatever. Seriously.
How about Florida becomes second U.S. state to take drastic public health measures?
Yeah.
Might be good.
Yeah, I think it has to do with the water. Water. You hear that, Pam? Water. All right, here we go. Becomes the second U.S. state to take drastic public health that will affect every household. Pay attention. Florida has become the second state in the U.S. to ban fluoride from its tap water in a move that is likely to appease RFK Jr. Governor Ron DeSantis signed the bill into law today, which was the 15th. It was yesterday, which doesn't explicitly mention fluoride, but effectively bans the mineral by preventing the use of certain additives in a water system. The ban is set to go into force from July 1. It makes Florida the second state in the U.S. to ban fluoride in drinking water, after Utah also passed the measure at the end of March. Their ban went into effect last week. HHS Secretary RFK Jr. has also called for all states to ban fluoride, saying it makes no sense to have it in our water supply and calling the mineral an industrial waste. Fluoride was first added to the country's water supply in the 1940s. After studies showed it could strengthen teeth and reduce cavities, with estimates suggesting that fluoridation now saves $6.5 billion every year in dental treatment costs. But recently, evidence has emerged suggesting that the mineral can damage brain cells and lower IQs. I think AJ must have drank an awful lot of fluoride water. Last year, a lot of the people in the chat will get that. Last year, a bombshell U.S. government report suggested that exposure to high levels of fluoride could harm brain development in children. Revealing he had signed the law, DeSantis said on X, "Today I was in Dade City to sign SB 700, which, among other things, prevents local governments from injecting fluoride into the water supply. Informed consent, not forced medication, is the Florida way." There you go. At a news conference Thursday, he added, according to NBC News, yes, use fluoride for your teeth. That's fine. But forcing it in the water supply is basically forced medication on people. They don't have a choice. He's right. He argued there are other ways residents could get access to fluoride, such as via toothpaste, and stressed that the mineral shouldn't be mandated by the government. Some of these people, they think that they know better for you than you do for yourself. Exactly. They think because they have medical training or they have this, that, they should be able to decree how we live our lives. And he's right. He's absolutely right. And so I'm glad
this is, look at the advertising on this site. You got to read around. It's
I know.
mostly advertising. This is horrible.
I know.
The Daily Mail is just absolutely horrible.
Yeah. Well, it's the most read paper in the world, but yeah.
Is it?
Yeah, it is. Let's see.
Amazon wages quiet war.
Yeah, and then the next one will be inflation is down. Hold on. Amazon quiet war. Yeah. Amazon, man. You got to wonder, Bezos, what the hell are you up to?
Yeah, really.
So Amazon wages quiet war to stop states from taking Chinese equipment out of government offices. Amazon is dispatching lobbyists to state houses around the country in a fight against legislation that could see states ordering fewer goods from China, raising vague but strong objections to the bills, flooding legislators with dubious amendments to bog down the process and straining their relationships with lawmakers. I've gone to Amazon and their lobbyists and said, look, you're going to have to bring me something. You're going to have to tell me, why you're uncomfortable, Republican Mark Cochran told the Washington Examiner, because just saying we don't like it is not really sufficient. continue read. Oh, I'm not signing up. Okay, so Amazon
What you
doesn't
have
want.
to. What did you have to sign up?
I'm just not signing up for it.
No,
To
but we
continue
have.
read. Huh?
You could no. I can see more. Can you not see more?
No, I already know the gist. The
Well,
gist,
yeah.
the gist is that Amazon has a lot of Chinese equipment, and
they're selling it.
Yeah, and they're selling it, and they don't want it out of government offices because that's a lot of their sales are going to go away.
And
which I can understand their argument, but too bad, so sad. Bye bye. This is how
I
I feel.
guess Tennessee is considering legislation that would ban state and municipal government agencies from purchasing goods manufactured by Chinese corporations.
Yeah, I'm going to do this one first,
And
though. Oh, go ahead.
Texas, it's still part of the same
Oh, all right.
article.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Finish up.
Texas is mulling similar legislation. But yeah, they sell a whole bunch of Chinese crap, so they're trying to keep the Chinese.
Oh yeah, they want to
crap.
keep they want to keep the crap coming through. I'll bet China reached out because China reached out to Australia. They told them go screw a rock. They wanted to replace us, the Americans, for buying all their crap. Oh, Jimmy's here finally. What's up, brother? He's centering my rants about the local savages. Thanks, YouTube. Okay. Was AJ in the chat? No, I just said it because I know a lot of people here would find it funny. So here you go. So Andrew Cuomo boasts a big lead in the New York City mayor race. Can you believe this? He dominates with blacks, Latinos in the Bronx and Queens, with moderates and conservatives and non-college graduates. Whatever the many failings of Cuomo, it appears woke is losing badly in urban non-whites. Exactly. And that was it. The polls basically shown. So in other words, the guy who was disgraced out of office only a couple years ago, right, for the Me Too crap,
is now coming through.
He should. Yeah, he's probably going to be the mayor. He should have been thrown out of office for killing over 15,000 senior citizens, right? That's what he should have been thrown out for. But no, they got him for the sex thing.
But what's really interesting is they got Adams, who said he is definitely going to run as an independent.
Independent, yeah.
And
he
then
won't have any money.
And then you got Cuomo, who's running as a Democrat. You know what would be really funny?
What's that?
If they split the Democrat vote enough that a Republican won.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be hilarious?
That would be hilarious. Yeah.
Wouldn't that? That'd be a real knee slapper.
Yeah. Here's one. Donald Trump. U.S. inflation slows to 2.3%, lowest level since Biden. The U.S. I won't read the whole thing, but the U.S. annual inflation rate fell to 2.3% in April, its lowest reading since February 2021, as the effects of President Donald Trump's new tariffs began to ripple through an already slowing economy, according to a report from the Bureau of Labor Statistics released Tuesday. The April data marked the third consecutive monthly deceleration in headline inflation, coming in slightly below economists' expectations of 2.4%. On a monthly basis, the Consumer Price Index rose by 0.2%, matching the Dow Jones consensus estimate. In other words, Trump's winning. Trump is winning because now it's down to 2.3% inflation, and he hasn't been in office, 5 months? That's pretty good. Yeah, that's pretty good. So we don't need to read any more economics news. Anything else?
Yeah, we do have more time. Let's just see what have we done.
Well, I got one from the New York Post. Hang on. Let's see. I'm a free speech champion. Arrested for words I never said. All right. I never thought I'd end up in handcuffs and a jail cell for something I didn't say. But last May, it was Biden. Last May, police in New Haven, Connecticut arrested me because a parking attendant falsely claimed I had used a racial slur against him nearly a year earlier. That's crazy. I denied it. I asked cops to check the parking lot surveillance video. They didn't. And the state charged me with first with disorderly conduct, then with 3 counts of breach of peace in the 2nd degree. Are you kidding? It took almost a year, tens of thousands of dollars in legal fees, and endless stress before the nightmare ended on March 27, when the prosecutor finally dropped all charges. Why? Insufficient evidence, inconsistencies, credibility issues, video that clearly contradicted the accuser's claims, and a possibility that I wasn't even the right person. The judge dismissed the case. If this can happen to me, a First Amendment advocate with resources, legal counsel, and a public reputation to defend, it can happen to anyone. In 2011, while still a student at Yale University, I founded the Buckley Institute, named for conservative hero William F. Buckley. The mission was to promote intellectual diversity and freedom of speech at Yale. Yeah, so the woke took the word of someone who was upset about a racial intonation. Okay, so they had no proof. Like, aren't cops supposed to go out and get proof of who did it or what they did before they charge them? They had no proof.
I was under the mistaken impression that you were innocent until proven guilty.
Yeah, that is a mistake, you bigot. Yeah, seriously, it's like now they say, it's like Stalin, show me the man and I'll tell you the crime.
Yeah, and besides that, I was thinking the same thing as Jimmy just said. The fact is that you may not like this woman's words.
They're protected, yeah.
They are protected, though.
They are protected. Yes, they are.
You know, in fact, the First Amendment was not there for words that you like. The First Amendment was there for words that you don't like.
Right, for words that that offend you.
Yeah, somebody can say the worst crap you can imagine, and they're allowed to say it. Now, you're allowed to leave and not listen to it, which is, you know, the appropriate thing, but it's free speech.
Right. Let's see, what do we got next?
We're running out of stories.
I know. I didn't put that many in this week because we usually have a lot left over. Episcopal bishop. Here we go.
Yeah, we can talk about that one.
Yeah.
So they don't want to support. They don't want to support these refugees, and I think they said they're stopping all refugee.
Right. No, on Wednesday broadcast of CNN's AC 360, Episcopal Church presiding bishop Sean Rowe defended the church's migration service refusing to resettle new migrants from South Africa, and stated that if you look at this decision, this is really about people who have jumped the line. They didn't jump any line. The President of the United States invited them and gave them asylum. They didn't jump any line. Rose said, look at the thousands of people fleeing war and violence. Yeah, like the 11 to 20 million Joe Biden's people? I don't think so.
Yeah, fleeing prison time.
Yeah. Fleeing, and insane asylums. Fleeing war and violence. People who are waking up dead around the world. People who have helped our military that are being left in camps on a daily basis while white African, notice he had to put white in there, and he's a white guy, have been fast-tracked. You're right. It is about need. And if you look at this decision, this is really about people who have jumped the line. No, it's about people that were being persecuted by the government over there. They were being slaughtered wholesale. Their president, or whatever the hell the Marxist leader is dancing at rallies and singing "Kill the Boer." I mean, their land is being stolen from them by the government and given out to God knows who that's just going to wreck it. When you look at the fact that the entire refugee resettlement program in the United States has been totally gutted, that almost no refugees have been admitted since January because they're not refugees. Most of the people that came through under Biden's watch, their country was not at war.
No,
their
at
country
best,
was not persecuting them.
At best, they're economic migrants.
That's what it was. They were economic migrants. Guess what? That doesn't make you a refugee. And I said earlier, my whole thing, the only thing I would have a problem with, but President Trump invited them in, so I don't have that problem anymore. But
yeah, they're doing it legally.
they're doing it legally, but the point is that there's like the international law says, just to be consistent, says that you have to go to the next country. Remember, we talked about this, and you brought up what's the next country that would accept them on asylum in Africa. They're the white Afrikaner Boer.
I mean,
no matter where they went.
You could argue that, maybe Australia is geographically closer, but there is no country to go through.
Right.
There is no country that
Trump
they can
invited them.
There's no country to walk out of from South Africa that would, be any better. What are they going to go to the Congo?
Yeah, we had people waiting on airplanes. We had people who have helped our. You know what I think it is? This Episcopalian, I don't know, priest, reverend, I don't know what they are there. It's Catholic light, I guess, priest.
Catholic, like all the ceremony, half the guilt.
Yeah. This bishop, it's almost as if he got political and he's saying, no, we want the people that will help the Democrats vote, because these Afrikaners are hard workers. They're not asking for handouts. They're not asking for anything. They're just saying, look, we just want to come in and we want to get jobs and work. Well, here, Trump, I believe, is donating some land to them so they could farm, because that's what they do.
And they come in.
Go ahead.
No, we obviously can't let them in. They come in waving American flags.
Yeah, they were holding American flag, which is what you should do if you want to come into this country.
Yeah, but the Democrats hate America.
I know they do. They really do.
So if you like America, you can't be part of their vision, because right now they hate America, what America is, and they'll hate it until they can turn it into something resembling their dream,
right?
Which most of us would consider a dystopian nightmare.
Right. Here's one. Trump hits back at dried out prune Bruce Springsteen.
I guess he stopped a conference. He stopped his concert.
Yeah. President Donald Trump hit back at Bruce Springsteen on Friday, calling him highly overrated and a dried out prune, and flogged a New Jersey native for going to a foreign country to speak badly about the president of the United States. Everybody thinks, born in the U.S., pro-American. No, not at all. He's not a pro-American guy. Everybody got that wrong for years. I see that highly overrated Bruce Springsteen goes to a foreign country to speak badly about the president of the United States. Never liked him, never liked his music or his radical left politics. And importantly, he's not a talented guy, just a pushy, obnoxious jerk who fervently supported crooked Joe Biden, a mentally incompetent fool, and our worst president ever, don't sugarcoat it.
Yeah, tell us what you really think.
Oh, good Lord, Donald, who came close to destroying our country. But everything he said is true. Trump said of Springsteen in the Friday Night Truth Social post. If I wasn't elected, it would have been gone by now. Sleepy Joe didn't have a clue as to what he was doing. But Springsteen is dumb as a rock and couldn't see what was going on, or he could, which is even worse. Trump's truth continued. This dried out prune of a rocker, his skin is all atrophied, ought to keep his mouth shut until he gets back into the country. That's just standard fare. It's true. Then we'll all see how it goes for him. But that is true. You're not supposed to talk crap about your country when you're overseas.
Yeah, and then if he, everybody knows who he is. So if you go to his concert, you'd probably cheer it on. But apparently, he stopped the concert in the middle of the concert to rail about Trump.
Oh, really? Yeah.
And America, yeah. And he went on and on talking about how bad Trump is. And
yeah.
That's what that whole.
Well, he's a D-bag, isn't he? Yeah.
What's that?
I said, well, he's a D-bag, isn't he? Here, this is one.
Yeah, we used, when I rode with the club, we had a kind of a handbook of how things should be, and they say rules are always written in blood. We would have our meetings, and we agreed that really you should only need one rule, and that rule is don't be a douchebag.
Right. Exactly.
That's the only rule. Don't be a douchebag.
Yeah.
Everything else falls from that.
Yeah, just don't be a douchebag. All right, I'm going to pull this one up. This is Mike Flynn. Here it is.
So Jim Comey is the first target, just like I was the first target in the Trump administration in 2016, 2017 timeframe. Jim Comey, believe me, once the evidence is shown to him and he knows it's there. He knows exactly what the problem is, and he's not going to get away with this. So Jim Comey ought to go to the tall man's shop, get measured for an orange jumpsuit, and because he's going to go to prison whether he likes it or not. Now, the only thing he can do is maybe cut a deal and lessen his sentence.
Comey knows he's going to be the first to be indicted. I told you that 2 months ago. And now they admit he's under criminal investigation. It's open and shut. The lying to Congress alone is incredible. Oh, I never leaked anything. I just gave it to other people to leak it.
Yeah.
Later, he had to admit. Same thing.
So let's see if there's more of Mike.
James Comey posted the image of, oh, look at these seashells. It's so beautiful. 80.
I want to hear his take.
647, meaning sink, kill, destroy. And his whole history of trying to set up the administration, leaking fake information.
Right.
Covering up the Epstein files with his daughter.
Signing bogus FISA warrants.
In the New York office. People know he's one of the top kingpin villains, and Comey knows he's going to be the first to be indicted. I told you that 2 months ago. And now they admit he's under criminal investigation. It's open and shut. The lying to Congress alone is incredible.
Yeah.
Oh, I never leaked anything. I just gave it to other people to leak it. Later, he had to admit. Same thing. So Comey is desperate. Trump's pro-America, populist, peace, economic, sovereignty agenda is winning faster than I even thought it could. 116 days in.
Yeah.
The peace initiative, it's got all the different corrupt globalist factions, the EU, NATO, Benjamin Netanyahu and the Likudniks have been totally cut off. This is a real revolution of sovereignty and global awakening around the world, not just here.
Right.
Kash Patel said, we're aware of the recent social media post by former FBI Director James Comey, directed at President Trump. We are in communication with the Secret Service and Director Curran, primary with the Secret Service on these matters, and we, the FBI, will provide all necessary support. And the word is, agents of the FBI and Secret Service visited Comey last night.
Nice.
With his history
Nice.
of plotting and setting people up and coups and saying we're going to take
He's
Trump out
such a
and
disgrace.
and them saying we're going to kill this guy, Mudd from the CIA, all of them. No, this is an ongoing operation. And the globalists aren't giving up. They're not even pretending to. They are rampaging forward. Let's go to
right,
of General Flynn.
Understand that Trump's strategy for what he is doing right now, very calculated and very purposeful. And now that he's got his team on board, he had his first cabinet meeting today. And now that he's got his team on board, you can see that, the guns are coming out metaphorically, right? And Comey is going to be one of the first targets, because what is going to happen, and this is why I think you're absolutely right, that within the next probably 60 days or so, we're going to hear about indictments coming against him and others.
Yep.
There are going to be grand juries sealed and such, and that kind of stuff will go along. But between Cash, Dan Bongino, Pam Bondi, President Trump, and then others of us that are involved in some of these aspects of what we're trying to do, Comey is going to fold, and he's going to fold like a cheap cigar, because once these people are, the evidence is there, Jim. You didn't destroy any of it. The agents are still there. In some cases, they're still working inside the FBI, or they're out. They will be brought back in. So all of this is now going to come to a big head. And it won't just be Jim Comey, because Jim Comey is going to be asked about, well, who else knew about it? Did you brief Barack Obama? Did you brief the Attorney General at the time? Did you speak to Jim Clapper? Did you speak to John Brennan? Did you speak to Susan Rice? Did you speak to Sally Yates? Who else was part of this conspiracy to undermine, at the time, the candidate of a major political party, Donald J. Trump, during the 2016 timeframe? And then all of that then led into Russiagate, right? Yeah. Led into the initial components of the coup to basically take down America destroy this country as we know it and turn it into part of the one world order that the globalists want. So Jim Comey is the first target, just like I was the first target in the Trump administration in 2016, 2017 timeframe. Jim Comey, believe me, once the evidence is shown to him and he knows it's there. He knows exactly what the problem is, and he's not going to get away with this. So Jim Comey ought to go to the tall man's shop, get measured for an orange jumpsuit, and because he's going to go to prison whether he likes it or not. Now, the only thing he can do is maybe cut a deal and lessen his sentence and offer some of the other conspirators who were part of this. There are agents inside of the FBI. They're not going to go to jail for Jim Comey, believe me, that were part of this, that he directed to do this.
Wow.
Yeah, that's the thing. There are guys who are not going to go to jail for Comey.
Right. Oh, yeah. Not for him.
I think the only story we haven't read is the last one on your list. DHS asks for 20,000 National Guard personnel.
I was looking at that earlier. And someone.
We got time for one more?
Yeah, we got time. 5 minutes. DHS asked for 20,000 National Guard personnel to help deport illegal immigrants. Ha! So the FBI is doing it, and the National Guard is going to help DHS now because they can't handle it. There's so many of them. That's an indictment on the Democrats. And think about it. All these resources have to go towards getting illegals out. And because they have to get out, especially the violent ones, the ones they went after first, right? And yet the Democrats are still fighting tooth and nail to help them, to help the bad guys. The military said it has received a request from the Department of Homeland Security. Wow. Homeland Security officials have requested 20,000 personnel to help with their large-scale deportation operation, officials confirmed on May 16. The Department of Homeland Security, DHS, asked for 20,000 National Guardsmen to help carry out the president's mandate from the American people to arrest and deport criminal illegal aliens. Now, think about it. The Democrats have an incentive for what they're doing. Biden brought them all here to help them gain power back. They spread them all over. I say this all the time. Spread them all over the country. And then right before election, like 6 months before the election, California says, we're going to give free, banana splits every Sunday to every illegal in the, whatever. We're going to give free, Gavin Newsom phones or whatever. We'll give you free medical. They flood out of red states, go straight, all of them, and go straight to the blue states. And then the census hits. And when the census hits, they're allowed, thank you, John Roberts, they're allowed to count illegals, right? And so what happens? They get their seats back. They get the congressional seat and the electors back. And they get the higher grant money because of the amount of people that are in their states. That's the whole reason why they're doing it.
Except the mule threatened all their plans.
Right.
He's thrown a wrench into that.
Oh, man. The Department of Homeland Security will use every tool and resource available to get criminal illegal aliens, including gang members, murderers, pedophiles, and other violent criminals out of our country. The safety of American citizens comes first, Tricia McLaughlin, spokesperson for DHS. A spokesperson for the Pentagon told the Epoch Times in an email that the military has received a request from DHS. The spokesperson declined to provide any additional information, of course. President Donald Trump has called for carrying out the largest deportation operation in U.S. history, referencing how the government's peak of removals was more than 1 million in fiscal year. Yeah, Eisenhower, 54. He didn't just fly him to Mexico. He flew him like 1,000 miles down and said, get out. In an order in May, he said that within 60 days, the DHS secretary shall supplement existing enforcement and removal operations by deputizing and contracting with state and local law enforcement officers, former federal officers, officers and personnel within other federal agencies and other individuals to increase the enforcement and removal operations force of the Department of Homeland Security by no less than 20,000 officers in order to conduct an intensive campaign to remove illegal aliens who have failed to deport voluntarily. All right. Well, now
and And you know what's even the greatest thing, of course, is that there's like the illegal crossings have dropped by like 99%.
Well, they had a lot of self-deportations.
And that's what I was going to say. We don't know how many, because we don't know how many people are actually in the country illegally, but I guess tons of people are self-deporting. There's a whole new industry of reverse coyotes kind of thing, because
Yeah, they're taking them out.
people want to get out, and they want to be careful not to go back to certain places, so they get the coyotes to get them to where they want to go, because they don't want to be, in a jail in El Salvador. So they decide they want to go to, I don't know.
Remember they made the SOS?
Yeah.
With the prisoners in the red and orange suits, they made the SOS because they didn't want to go to El Salvador.
That was in the detention center.
Yeah. Hey guys, if you haven't already, do me a favor, please hit that like button. Remember, next week, please bring your friends. At least tell them.
Bring a friend. Bring two friends.
It's the free shit, you Democrats. Yeah. Bring two friends if you can, please. I appreciate it. Everybody,
tell your friends. Get them to hook up. And get them to say something hilarious but not obnoxious.
There you go.
In the chat.
There you go.
Get
We want to make money because we got demonetized last week for something someone said. Okay, let's see. I think we ran out of stories, and it is 9 o'clock. Your ass must be talking to you right now.
Yeah. You
screaming at you. What have you done to my life? Yeah.
You got it. The timer is going off in my.
There you go. See that? Look at that. All my friends are already here. Look at that. What a guy.
There you go.
Thank you, brother.
All right, Special K.
Let me see.
All right, everybody.
Says my friend.
Everybody should have a good. Everybody should have a good weekend. I wish everybody.
On my way in. Awesome. You're the best, Sheila. Hey, yeah, guys, have a great week, everybody. God bless, and thank you all for being here. You know how much I appreciate you, every one of you. You too, Jade.
Hey, listen. Hey, it's fun, but it wouldn't be nearly as much fun without the people in the chat.
Oh, they make up the whole night, man. These guys are hilarious. I brag about you guys in my videos, by the way. I hope you all know that. And it's everybody here who I brag about. Yeah. All right, guys. Thank you very much. You have a great week. Watch the videos. Bring friends next week, please. Thank you.
Bring a couple of friends.
Yeah, we're out.